Yo, yada yada, good morning. Friday once again, so we got more Umineko. Just need a refresher on what happened last time. I think it was mostly just like some Anja like backstory, huh? Let me oh oh yeah, reset my PC so it has this up. Get that out of here. Almost forgot I had that. But right here, let's get back in. And then recap on things that happened last week. It feels like it's been longer than a week. Right, okay, so last time there was I think it was last time, right? Last stream? Whole lot of stuff happened. With I guess the flashback kind of scene that we had with Angie, where she was still in school. Where she declared like all of the seven sisters and whatnot. Just fake and not real, because they couldn't kill the classmates that were embarrassing her. Embarrassing her? No, that's not quite right. This one. They're like bullying her. Yeah, that's more apt description. Got rid of all of them. Next we went back to another little thing with Maria. Where else she would always go out with Sakataro, get like stuff from the store and whatnot to eat. Ended up losing her key. And it was found out that, well, I guess to pretty much no surprise, that Rosa wasn't actually working or anything late night. What was she doing then? Like, she was out at like the spa place or whatever for like 3 entire days. Full parenting. But what was her goal for doing all that? Just to pretend would it be like not to have Maria? She seems to care for her, but at the same time she's doing stuff like that, so who knows what's going on. Anyway, after that, got upset at Maria, especially because how she would go out with Sakataro and got recognized because of that. Tore him to pieces, yeah? Here, which one is it? That one. Lady Maria's white heart, which was torn apart. Can only be regenerated by the Meister Courage and Rosa, all capital. We're gonna see Rosa like appear here. I still want to see more of the goldsmith. Holy! Last time we left Rockanjima, it was before like that night conference on the like before that like dinner on the first day that they came, and he said he would be there. I want to see more of that. Right, Sakataro dead. What else happened? That might have been pretty much it. Little like backstory things were long. What else? What else? I think we're back. Oh no. Right, Lambda Delta came by and talked to Angie a bit and told her that Birkenstell lied to her about being able to return her family to her. It seems the deal is that she's technically telling the truth because she'll bring the family back, but to the Angie that's like 6 or something, and not this one. I don't believe that this Angie is like fake or whatever, just a piece that doesn't exist otherwise. Like what Lambda Delta is trying to imply. I fully believe she's like real and all that. She's just the Angie of a timeline where her family died. Whereas what Birkenstell is gonna do is just help find a timeline where they didn't and they returned to her. Like all those years back. Alright, Lambda Delta's plan during all that is to have her keep like Birkenstell and the witch, Beatrice and Battler and all that in the game like forever, helping her keep them that because Lambda just wants to keep Birkenstell trapped forever. That's her whole goal. She doesn't care about anything else. But there's a thought I was thinking of earlier that I can't remember. Right. The way Lambda Delta seems to phrase everything is that, like, Mercantile lied and that Angie wouldn't be able to accept whatever outcome did come through, having finally helped Battler break free of all this. But Byrne specifically stated that she'd bring the best outcome that she can accept, right? I felt like Lambda is like very intentionally like leaving all that out because, of course, she would. Which, I feel like things will turn out fine in the end if she just helps her brother, but we'll see where this goes. Battler's like from how he is, it's like pretty quick to adapt and overcome things. Like he's been growing steadily over these past few games he's been having with the Witch here. I doubt that Angie will be able to keep him like locked in a stalemate forever. Anyway, I think that's about it. I think after that whole scene with Sakataro and all that, we're here now in the world 12 years after. I guess Angie's on a boat, maybe going to Rakanjima. We will see. I'm still curious. I'm thinking more about the numbers that were on the door to the parlor where George died in episode 3. The first two, or I guess Oh yeah. Like the first half of it seemed to be Battler's birthday, but the second half? "1129," I think it was, right? Hmm. Any case, I got no other ideas. We haven't been given too much to like speculate and think on with these long like little backstory things. So we'll see where this goes. I think that's about all of the catching up. I don't think I'm forgetting everything. It feels like it's been forever. Oh, I'm gonna blame that on like the oh boy, on like the freaking 50 hours of Power World me and my friends have been playing like almost every day. Holy. Maybe we'll play more a bit later after this. Who knows? It is a Friday. In any case, let me take a sip of coffee and then we'll continue. I'd planned on taking a nap, but the boat really was shaking bad. I gave up on sleeping and went up to deck. There, I was welcomed by the shining sun and a strong sea breeze. Oh yeah, okay, so this is the 12 years after. I was right. I did remember that correctly. Makusa has been doing some stretches on the deck. Must have a lot of time on his hands too, after all. But it'll be several more hours before we reach Nijima. Nijima. Would only have taken a couple dozen minutes by airplane, but there was a chance that the Nijima airport was under the Madera family's web. The harbor would probably be the same. For that reason, I obtained a boat that would let me land while avoiding the harbor, no questions asked. I bumped into a cheery boat captain, plied him generously, and he had decided to help me out. Amused.
まだだいぶかかるの？さっき船長に聞いたら、あと2時間はたっぷりかかるそうです。ま、贅沢は言えねえですな。いいお天気ね。焼けちゃいそう。甲板で読書ですか？本が傷みますよ。
Damage your book. Mikasa apparently thought this because I was clutching Marione-san's diary under my arm. Been reading it half asleep, which is why I'd become. Well, I'm back up, still clutching it. The last scene we seen. The last scene we seen. Words. The last thing we saw from like in the 12-year afterworld was her summoning. Freaking. What was it? It wasn't Belphegor. Mamone? That it? I don't think that's. Hold on. Which one of the sisters was it? Not her. Not her. Not her. Okay, yeah, it was Mamon. And she like passed out, went to sleep, and then we haven't seen one of the future scenes since. This is the next scene of this timeline, I suppose. It's so hard to describe these events, man. I guess at that point they found a boat and are going to Nijima, I suppose.
どうですか？マリアさんの日記から六軒島の真相は探れそうですかい？さあ、あの島で何があったかなんて、どこまで調べても仮説でしかない。メッセージボトルもお姉ちゃんの日記も、魔女がカッポするおとぎ話が記されているだけで、お手上げよ。新島での関係者からの聞き込みに期待するしかないですな。リッチハンターどもが散々質問攻めにしてるでしょうから、きっと真事実なんて見つからないわよ。そ そこまで期待してないのに、半日も船旅をして新島に行こうなんて、実に気まぐれなことです。
Oops.
調べたっていう自己満足のための旅みたいなものよ。本気で12年前の真実が解き明かせるなんて、私も甘えてるつもりはないわ。
What if you do find it?
その自己満足が終わったら、どうするつもりで？
さあ、考えてないわ。新島に行って関係者に話を聞いて、最後に六軒島に行って花でも捧げたら、私の旅はおしまいね。
Several days have already passed since this journey began. After being told by Frankenstein on the roof that of the building to search for the truth 12 years ago, I left on a journey like trying to grasp a cloud. At the time, I felt as though I experienced something mystical and had the feeling that I might be able to grasp some kind of miracle at the end of this journey. But after several days passed, my excitement died down. On that day, when I stood on the roof of that skyscraper, my heart was completely cornered and dead. So I wanted from the bottom of my heart to be released from the cage of my body and rise into the sky, and had to cross the fence in order to die. Maybe experiencing the desire to die and actually stepping forwards, throwing my body down, caused some kind of mystical experience inside my head, making me think I'd received a message from a witch. The excitement for my jump lessened over time, and the more I came back to my senses, the more this journey lost its meaning. But I didn't even consider suspending this journey just because of that. If I stopped this journey, that would mean acknowledging that the message from that witch was an illusion. I felt as though that meant throwing away the promise the witch made, and any chance that someone from my family might come back. So, because it was hard to believe that those events were an illusion, I continued on my journey. I don't seriously believe that this journey will change anything. Even up to me when to end this journey. It's up to me to choose where the final destination is. In the end, this journey is only for my self-satisfaction. I'm thinking more again. Like, we have these future, like, 12-year, like, scenes from, like, 12 years after the events of Rokujima, but is this Andrea the same one that's, like, helping Battler out? Is this still, like, maybe a kind of, flashback? And it's, like, before she came to help out Battler? Mm, I I don't know how to place the timeline of these things. Is this like a dip? Is this Angie and the one in like Purgatory helping Battler out? Like practically two different things, like how the Battler on the game board and the Battler in Purgatory are different.
自己満足か。聞こえは悪いですが、そいつが実は人生ってやつではないかと思ってます。
ええ、傭兵家業で視線をくぐった末に至った答えだったなら、なかなか味わい深いじゃない。
茶化さんでください。俺が言いたいのは、自己も何も自分を認められるのは世の中で自分だけしかいないってことです。
Because it continued stretching as he spoke, in an irritatingly fresh way. Hearing it told to me as though from a teacher made me instinctively want to resist, but what he was saying was extremely sensible.
そうかもね。
Oh, this music?
人は誰かに認められたくて努力をするわ。多くの場合、それは親ね。親に褒められたくて子供は努力を覚える。だから私は覚えなかったわけだけど。
すんません。そういうつもりで言ったんじゃないです。俺が言いたいのは、 自己満足大いに結構ってことなんです。誰に褒められたってそれを納得できなきゃ意味がない。
True.
逆を返しゃ、誰に褒められなくったって自分
Brown.
が納得できりゃそ
Battler.
れでいいってことです。
自己満足と向上心って矛盾するから、普通は悪いことって教えられるわよね。天草の論法はなんだか新鮮よ。
誰かに認めてほしくて、だけれど何を努力すればいいのかわからないのが人の世の苦しみです。
Hmm.
俺にもそういう頃があった。誰かに認められたくて、でも何を認められればいいかわからなくて、そして何をどこまで努力すれば誰に認めてもらえるかわからなくて、随分と無茶苦茶をやってきたもんです。
それで天草が至った答えが自己満足だっていうの？
聞こえは悪いがそういうことです。我ただ樽を知るってやつですわ。
Rich is the one who is. What is it?
俺がこれでいいと思った人生なら、それはとやかく言われてどうこうってもんじゃない。エンジさんの人生もこの旅も同じです。エンジさん以外の誰にもとやかく言う権利なんてない。旅の意味と成果はエンジさんだけが決める。エンジさんにとって有意義な旅になったなら、それで十分なんですよ。
あんたってちゃらけてる男だと思ってたけど、たまに変なこと言い出すのね。そういうこと、たまに言うとモテると思ってるでしょ。
Wrong with what he said?
まさかまさか。そんなつもりで言ったんじゃありません。どうやらお一人になりたいようだ。
Just up slightly. There we go.
俺は船長のところへ行っています。
There we go.
どうぞごゆっくり。
Because I apparently decided I was in a bad mood. Although I didn't feel that way myself. Or he might have finished a set of stretches and wanted to cool off in the shade. Sea winds were strong, but not enough to cool the rays of the sun. Mikasa disappeared. Only I remained.
自己満足こそが人生か。
Oh,
そんなのつまら
you're
ないで
here.
す。人生はどこまでも強欲でなくっちゃ。
Notice that Momona suddenly appeared, her abundant hair floating over by the prow of the ship.
強欲な人生は確かに楽しいわ。でも、あなたと違って人間には寿命がある。永遠に強欲のままだったなら、人は死ぬ最後の瞬間にも欲があることになる。欲があるということはつまり、欲しいということ、持っていないということ、満たされていないということ。自分が満たされていると思えないまま死ぬのは、きっと辛いことよ。だからきっと自己満足って必要なんだわ。
なるほど。寿命ある存在にはそういう妥協点も必要ってことですか。私たちの主はやたらと寿命の長いお方ばかりだったんで、考えたことも。
人間ってのは満たされるために生きてるのかしら。だとしたら無欲が一番人生に優しいことになるわ。なるほど。7つの大罪の一つが強欲になるのも納得ね。
お褒めに預かり光栄です。
So was that praise? Apparently that counted as a compliment in Mamon's eyes. He turned and gave a graceful bow.
エンジ様、人間は死の瞬間に満足であるために生きてるんですか？
死の瞬間に何かが満たされていないのはきっと辛いんじゃない？
だとしたら人間は満足な死を迎えるためだけに生きてるわけですね。より良い死のために生きてる。死ぬために生きてる。
It's saying something pretty incredible. I see, as I expect from a demon stake. However, it might be the truth. Humans suffer because they aren't satisfied and live only to find satisfaction. In other words, Muddy. That might be the same as a desire to die satisfied.
言い返せないわ。 人は満たされるために生きてる。そして満たされたまま死にたいと願ってる。だからその満たされ方がわからないのはとても辛いことだわ。
どうやれば満たされるんです？人間の人生は。
認めてもらうことよ。お前は幸せだってね。
誰が認めてもいいものでしたら私が認めてあげますよ。
そうよ、そこなのよ。誰に認めてもらえばいいのかわからないのよ、人は。
その認めてくれる人を探すのが人生の旅なんですか。へえ。
おかしな話ね。認めてもらおうと認めてもらわなかろうと自分の境遇に変化はないはずにもかかわらず、認められれば満たされ、認められないから満たされない。まるで青い鳥だわ。カゴの中にもう青い鳥はいるのに、それに気づけないからどこまでも探しに旅立たなければならない。
何ですかそれ。人間の人生ってバカですね。
Wow, rude.
そうね、天草は本当にいいことを言ったわ。我ただ樽を知るか。何のことわざか知らないけど味わい深いわ。つまるところ、誰かに認めてもらわなければ満ち足りないとは、すなわち自らを認められないということ。究極の自己実現はまず自分を自分で認めることだったのよ。
Ultimate.
そりゃそうです。自分が満ち足りてるって自覚できるなら誰にも認めてもらう必要なんかないですから。その小さなことに気づくだけで人間のくだらない人生の旅は簡単に終了ですね。残った時間を有意義に遊んで過ごせます。人間の人生ってバカバカしい。
Monk's choice of words was bad, but it was surely the truth. If most of humans' life is a journey with the hopes that someone will acknowledge them so that they can achieve a satisfied death, then when they realize the person doing acknowledging isn't someone else but they themselves, that pointless journey can end. Humans who have ended that journey can probably spend the rest of their lives as they wish, with their heads held high. How noble, how praiseworthy would that be?
天草ってさ、親とはかなり仲が悪いらしいのよ。そりゃそうよね。まっとうな親なら足を洗わせたいと願うような商売だもの。
別にいいんじゃない？本人が楽しいなら。
まったくよね。結局はそういうことなのよ。他人が観測した自分の評価なんかどうでもいいこと。自分の存在を自分自身がしっかり認められたならそれで十分なのよ。自分に自信を持って生きられるならどんな生活だって受け入れて納得できるに違いない。天草はきっといつか戦場で流れ弾を食らって大怪我をするでしょうよ。あるいは死ぬことさえあるかもしれない。でも天草はそれを理不尽とは思わないと思う。それも人生と。あいつはケラケラ笑ってるような気がするの。
いい生き様じゃない。惚れるわ。
自分で自分を認められない哀れな人間は生涯それを求めてさまよい、何も受け入れられず不平不満だけを口にし、満たされないまま死んでいく。哀れだわ。何の目的もなくだらだらと生きてる連中に比べたらやがてのだれ死にするかもしれないけれど、自分の人生に胸を張っている天草の方がよっぽど高潔なのよ。
人生悟ったものの勝ちってことじゃない？少しでも早く悟れればその分有効に残りの人生が過ごせてお得よね。
With Mamon's words, I finally accepted a certain fact. In the past, I've called that girl unusual, a little strange. However, that wasn't true. All she did was keep her head held high and finish that journey faster than anyone else.
だからマリアお姉ちゃんはすごかったのかもしれない。彼女は小学校低学年になるかならないかという年齢のうちにそれに至ったのよ。
For people like us, looking at our life from the outside, it wasn't something we'd call blessed. But even though days like that were engraved in her diary, they always finished up by saying that it was a happy day. New track or one we heard before? Even though part of her mother that didn't love her daughter came and went, or even though the part of her mother that didn't love her daughter came and went, she believed that her mother loved her. A mother's love that didn't exist, she created herself, filling her world with love. Others might observe her as an unsatisfied, pitiful girl, but she herself acknowledges that she was satisfied. And so, she was happy that way. It's easy to observe that as something pitiable and sad. But to her, that was an outsider's opinion, so it didn't matter. Whether or not it was happy for her was the only important thing. Just like how when people who live in the city point to the lifestyles of those in rural areas and mourn their inconvenience and feel sympathy for them, it's really none of their business. If those who live there are satisfied with what they have, that's more than enough.
私、ようやく気づいたわ。今気づいた。マリアお姉ちゃんにひどいことをしたのよ。あの日に。あなたたちにも、サク太郎にも。魔法があるかないか、それを決めるのは他人じゃないわ。自分よ。マリアお姉ちゃんにとって魔法があるかないかは、マリアお姉ちゃんが決めるべき問題で、私が決めることじゃない。なのに、私は幼いあの日、魔法なんてあるわけないって、彼女を傷つけてしまった。
The fact that magic doesn't exist in my eyes matters in my world. But denying it in Oni-chan's world for that reason was totally misguided.
マリアージュ・ソルシエルは、マリアお姉ちゃんの作った魔女同盟。私はそれに誘われて、一緒に魔女になろうと言われたの。新しい面白い遊びだと思って、私はしばらくの間、それに付き合ったわ。でも、幼さゆえの残酷さ、途中で飽きてしまった。そして、鋭利な言葉であの時、大喧嘩をしたはず。私はすぐに忘れてしまったけれど、彼女には忘れられないものだった。なぜなら、彼女にとって魔法は確かに存在する自然な力で、それは私とも共有できると信じていたから。マリアお姉ちゃんにとって魔法は世界を幸福に解釈できる、いえ、全てを幸福にできる、まさに魔法の力だった。それを私にもお裾分けしたかっただけ。その気持ちを幼い私が引き裂いた。だから彼女は誰とも魔法は分かり合えないと殻の中に閉じこもってしまったのよ。
だとしたらマリア卿もやはり人生の旅は終わってないわけね。自分に納得できてるなら園児様に否定されたくらいでへこむ必要なんてないわけ。
お姉ちゃんは幼かった。天草みたいな達観にはまだ至ってなかったのよ。はあ、だからこそわかるわ。マリアージュ・ソルシエルという魔女同盟がなぜ必要なのか。
An alliance where each acknowledges that the other is a witch.
そうよ。それが確かマリアージュ・ソルシエルの取り決めの第一条だった気がする。同盟の魔女は互いを魔女と認め尊敬し合うことって、それこそが魔女同盟の一番の、そして唯一の意味なのよ。
Ryuna-chan wanted to share with me the secret laws to make the world happy, called magic. But I was young, and she was too. I hurt her with innocent cruelty.
私はあの日に言ったわ、暴言を。あなたたちやサク太郎に存在するわけがないって。
失礼しちゃうわ。私たちが存在するって自らを認めてる。魂が寝ぼけてる人間どもとはわけが違うのよ。我を思うゆえに我あり。 魔法を認めようと否定しようと、私たち煉獄の七姉妹という魔法が存在することは、園児様の言葉を借りるなら、私たちが自らをそう認めている限り。
それを他者である私が否定するのはまさに暴力だわ。それはきっと実の母にお前なんか生まれてこなければよかったと、いいえ消えてしまえと怒鳴りつけられるくらいにね。
Even after being slammed by all those words, Ryonu-chan's magic made her believe in her mother's love. Takataro, her magic friend, always encouraged her. She kept saying that her mother loved her, that she was coming home late because of her work, and that she would definitely bring back a present. Even after Maria learned that her mother's work wasn't really the cause, magic allowed her to continue believing. By believing that her mother loved her, by acknowledging herself, she filled her world with love and peace and serenity, establishing it completely.
12年前に何があったのか、私の家族がどうなったのか、それを探る旅じゃなかったのよ、これは。
なら、この旅は何なの？
マリアお姉ちゃんにあの日のことを謝る旅だったのよ。
Oh?
どうしてかわからないけど、そう思うの。あの日、彼女を傷つけなければ12年前の事件は起こらなかったんじゃないかって。そう思うの。
Really? I have no basis for it. I don't have a clue how hurting One-chan will be connected with that mysterious incident several years ago. But, for some reason, I can't imagine that there's no connection. The witch caused that incident, and the culprit is the Golden Witch, Beatrice. And Beatrice was part of the Mariage Sorcier alliance of witches. I horribly hurt the other witch of that alliance. I hurt her with the thought that magic doesn't exist. So several years later, a crime caused by a witch occurred. In a 2-day period that couldn't be explained with anything but magic was thrust in my face, thanks to the message bottle.
私は無関係じゃないのよ。わからない。偶然かもしれないし、運命かもしれない。なぜか、この旅で私はそう思うようになったわ。
根拠は？
ないわ。勝手にそう思ってるだけ。
日本人って面白いわね。被害者であっても自分に非があったように感じて勝手に謝り出す。家族を奪ったベアトリーチ様憎しって言うなら、勝手に非を感じて謝りたくなってくるなんて本当に変わってるわ。
もちろんベアトリーチェは憎いわよ。その気持ちがなければこの旅は続かないわ。でも旅にもう一つ目的を見出してもいい。12年前の魔女に復讐する旅に、さらに昔の罪を謝罪する目的を加えたっていいんだわ。六軒島に行ってあの日の暴言を詫び、花を手向けることくらいはできる。いえ、花よりもっといいものがあるわ。そしてその方がお姉ちゃんにはふさわしいと思う。
She thinking. I stood up, not minding that the sea breeze scattered my hair, and concentrated my mind. I lifted my palm up to the height of my head and imagined a vast space.
園児様？
静かに。さあさあ、おいでなさい。我こそは魔女見習い、エンジェ・ベアトリーチェ。破門にされてはしまったけれど、かつて同じ同盟に所属し、私と遊んでくれた懐かしき家具よ。我が呼びかけに応じよ。
It was hard to tell in the middle of the day, but a faint blue light gathered around the palm of my hand. Then, Takataro's form was revived. It really did bring back memories, that figure. Cute ears, his bright red muffler. came off easily. So Oni-chan's faithfully rewrapped it all the time, didn't she?
サクタラ
But wasn't he dead? I thought only Rosa could bring him back. Guess that's this one. And we got some weird timeline thing. This is the future board, I suppose. Not under Maria, though. If you look here, he's directly under and connected to... I didn't even notice this was like a transparent thing because it was on a black background before. Holy. Alright, it's directly under Maria here. This one, they're all under... like this little connection circle we got going on. Look at title. Maria Oni-chan's precious friend. Very simple, warm and kind. Tends to say Uryu. Didn't Maria Oni-chan also have a habit of saying this long ago?
わかる私たちがわかるおりょ
In a while.
おりょ
Twilight.
マモンエンジ
With a sleepy face, as though waking up from a long slumber, Sakataro looked all around him as he spoke.
お久しぶりね、サク太郎。あなたを私の力で呼び出すのは、きっとこれが初めてだわ。そして今や、私にしか呼び出せない。
ウリュウ
Those words might have been a bit cruel. Sakataro's face clouded over.
かつての私は、あなたを否定した。その私があなたを呼び出したということは、あなたの存在を、私が認めたということ。
いいの僕はエンジの世界に呼び出されてもいいの
His eyes were a bit frightened. It was only natural. I, who had played with him like a friend before, had suddenly denied him and tried to burn him with the magic-resisting toxin. It was only natural that he was scared.
謝るわ、あの日のことを、マモンにも、そしてみんなにも。
At some point, the rest of the seven sisters had gathered on the deck. Oh, they were always there. Always by my side. As long as I acknowledge that it's okay for them to be there, they'll always appear.
あなたたちは確かに存在するわ。
A little bit behind them.
ルシファー
Kinda
も、
hard to see you.
レビアタンも、サタンも、ベルフェゴールも、マモンも、ベルゼブブも、アスモデウスも、そしてサク太郎も。
よろしいのですかエンジェ様はベアトリーチェ様に挑もうというお方魔女を否定される立場にあられるお方が我らを認めてもよろしいのですか
私の世界にとって魔法が存在するかどうかは悪いけど保留させてもらうわ。私自身が魔法の存在を認めたわけじゃない。
なのに我らを認めるという矛盾はどういうことです
魔法は信じる人には存在するってことよ。私が信じなくても誰かが信じたならその人の世界には魔法が存在するわ。それは私が魔法を信じたって信じなくたって何の干渉も受けない。いいえ、受けてはいけないのよ。その誰かは胸を張って自らの魔法を信じればいいのよ。そして私はそれを認める。だからあなたたちが存在しても全然おかしくはないのよ。
なかなかの詭弁ですが面白い解釈かとエンジェ様のそれは悪魔の証明そのものでしょう
Come back again, the devil's proof.
悪魔の証明？
だって悪魔の存在を証明するには悪魔を連れてくればいいけれど悪魔の存在を否定することだけは不可能だから
そして私たちはここにいる。つまりそれはエンジェ様が魔法を信じようと信じまいと私たちの存在は揺るがないということ。
無流エンジから
半魔法の毒が消えていく。本当だわ。魔法を否定する立場なのに、どうして。
それは多分尊重し認めるという心を知ったからだわ。今の私にならマリアお姉ちゃんの、そしてベアトリーチェの魔法の深淵も理解できるかもしれない。
Past, I didn't believe in things like magic. Thinking something like that couldn't exist, I acted like I was closing my eyes tightly and couldn't see anything. But now I'm different. I get the feeling I could look right at the thing called magic and close in on its true nature.
惜しいわ。この現代にこれだけ半魔法の毒素の抜けた人間なんて本当に稀よ。魔女に向いた稀有な才能なのに。そうね。今のエンジェ様が魔女を目指してくださったなら、ベアトリーチェ様に及ぶかもしれない大魔女に成長されたかもしれないのに。それでも我らの存在を認めてくださった我らの主である。おそらくエンジェ様が我らの最後の主となるだろう。最後の奉公と思い尽力しようではないか。
なのにエンジ様自身がまだ魔法を信じてくれないのが納得いかない。エンジ様、ついでに魔法も認めてくださいよ。せっかくの主なのに魔女じゃないなんてなんだかもったいない。
Rude?
最高の魔女になれる逸材なのに、その目的が魔女を撃つことだなんて惜しいです。まあそれもエンジ様の人生でそうと決めた世界ならば、それは私たちにとやかく口出しできることではないわけですが。
私を理解してくれてそうね。魔法が私にとって存在するかどうか、
Magic exists to me or not.
それは私が決めることだわ。
Up to me to
世
decide.
界のどこかに魔法が実在したとしてもしなかったとしてもね。
When I think about it, the world is so vast and yet so small. Billions of people live on the earth, but I probably won't even meet 1% of those people. Even so, I will speak of a world. My world, which doesn't know even 1% of the world.
私が知らない世界の法則を私に否定する資格なんてない。だから私の世界に魔法が存在しないからといって私の知らない世界に魔法が存在することまでを否定することはできない。まさに悪魔の証明というわけだわ。いえ、業に入りては業に従えというべきかしら。
I can be confident in the world I know. So even if that's denied by a complete stranger who doesn't know a thing about my world, that's nothing to worry about. And in the same way, I got no right to deny a world I don't know, just because I don't know about it.
だから私は自分の世界に魔法があるかないかを問わずに、マリアお姉ちゃんが教えてくれた魔法を否定することなんてできやしない。
無理だって見たことがなくても魔法は存在するんだもん。
ええ、だからすでに言っている通り、魔女同盟マリアージュ・ソルシエルの友人である私にも、そして誰にも否定することなんてできないわけ。
Proclaim that I proclaimed that most important part again. Even though the sea breeze and the crashing of waves were noisy, it was a time of silence. Well, Sakataro and the Seven Sisters of Purgatory reflected upon my words. And, probably, I did too. Does magic exist? Do witches exist? Ignoring what the answer would be for my own world, I acknowledged their existence. That contradiction was what I'd proclaimed so boldly.
ありがとう、エンジェ。
そこまでお認めになったなら、魔女もお認めになって。いえ、愚問でした。その問いに対する答えをすでにエンジェ様は明確にお持ちだ。
ごめんね、魔女がこの世界のどこかにいるかもしれないことを。でも私の世界は揺るがない。
魔女も魔法も認めない六軒島の真実は必ず暴いてみせる。 でしょ？
ええ、それが私の世界よ。仮に本当に魔女が存在したとしても、私の世界では認めないわ。当の魔女にどれだけ言い寄られたとしてもね。
Kind of
エンジェ
spell
様
that
の
later
立場
on.
は魔女を撃つこと。そしてそのお気持ちにいささかの揺らぎもないこと、よくわかりました。我らはエンジェ様の家具、煉獄の七姉妹。いつでもおそばにお役に立てる日が来るのをいつまでもお待ち申し上げております。エンジェ様が魔法を信じてくれない以上、話し相手くらいにしかなれないけれど、今は十分よ。私たちに存在できる余地を残してください。それだけで私たちはエンジェ様に感謝し認めるべきだわ。
つまり私たちは
Mari.
またみんなといられるんだね。うりゅー、サク太郎、もふもふさせて。
When Sakataro was overcome with emotion and tears came to his eyes, the Seven Sisters closed in and mobbed him. They were also celebrating a long-missed reunion. If their existence is permitted, they're definitely capable of existing here. Well, even if I don't permit it, they can exist. As I acknowledge them, they showed their reunion's joy to me as well. As I watched over that scene, I reflected over what this journey of mine meant.
これでみんなには許してもらえたかしら。
十分ですよ。私たちは家具、呼び出してもらえるだけで、おそばにいることを許されるだけで嬉しいのですから。ウリュウ、エンジェ、本当にありがとう。
そういえば、どうして私には作太郎が呼び出せたのかしら。
True.
いいえ、逆ね。どうしてお姉ちゃんには作太郎が呼び出せなかったのかしら。
Marione-chan had despaired, thinking that Sakataro had died, which meant she hadn't been able to summon him like this anymore. In the past, Oni-chan said it was more advantageous in a summoning to have a vessel. However, a vessel is like training wheels, and it shouldn't be absolutely necessary. In other words, even if the stuffed animal line that was Sakataro's vessel didn't exist, it should have been possible to summon him. No, when you put it like that, it's even a little doubtful whether summoning things can be limited by life and death. Or summoned things, rather. Moreover, Sakataro should have been an especially important friend to Mariano-chan. She should have been able to strive hard to summon him one more time. It certainly was sad that the original stuffed animal vessel had been torn apart. But why did he die and become impossible to summon again?
それは
Has Rosa declared him dead?
マリアがあの時僕のぬいぐるみが破れたのを見て、僕が死んでしまったと。
And decided that I died.
魔法の存在と同じなんです。マリア教の世界で作太郎が死んでしまったことになったなら、彼女の世界では作太郎は存在できない。ウリュウ。
The shock of having her beloved stuffed animal torn apart had left a wound in her heart serious enough to prevent her from summoning her irreplaceable close friend. In Maria Oni-chan's eyes, Sakataro died. So even if Sakataro can exist like this to me, he cannot exist before her.
僕はいつもマリアと一緒にいたんだよ。泣いてるマリアのすぐ近くで、泣かないでってずっと言ってたんだよ。でもマリアには僕の姿も声も何も届かなくて。
Sakataro hung his head, looking sad.
マリアージュ・ソルシエルはあの事件の後急に性格を変えていくの。それまでの同盟は和やかなものだった。でも事件後は憎い誰かを いかにして呪うかという物騒なものばかり。お姉ちゃんの日記はあからさまに様変わりしていくの。
A diary is a mirror that reflects one's heart as it is. It probably showed a personality called Maria die. And be reborn as the evil witch personality, Maria. When she buried that diary in hatred and sadness, her heart surely wasn't satisfied. Because it wasn't satisfied, she had to bury it with hatred and sadness. And while still unsatisfied, she met with death. I wonder if her unsatisfied soul had a hole open in its chest from sadness even now. He continually wonders, dripping tears down, calling Sakutaro's name.
あなたがお姉ちゃんには必要なのよ。
ウリュウ。
どうしたらあなたをマリアお姉ちゃんの世界で蘇らせられるの？その方法がわかれば、私はお姉ちゃんを救うことができる。それが私に課せられた贖罪の方法なのよ。どうすればサクタロウは蘇るの？
マリアにとって僕のよりしろは特に重要な意味を持ってたから。
よりしろ、つまりライオンのぬいぐるみを蘇らせることができれば。
でも僕のぬいぐるみはローザママの手作りだから、ローザママにしか作れない。
Been inside the diary, Marino-chan had asked this of Beatrice and was refused for that reason. The magical significance of a stuffed animal being unique and handmade is very large. Then, if we could make the same thing once more. But Aunt Rosa is already gone from this world. We can't make the same thing again.
同じぬいぐるみをもう一つ作ってあったとか、そういうことはないの？
彼はマリア教の誕生日プレゼントのために作られた世界でたった一つのぬいぐるみ、手作りでたった一つのよりしろなんです。だから大きな魔力を秘めているんです。そして失われたらもう二度と手に入らない、蘇らない。ウリュウ。
Because she knew that, Mariona-chan watched that stuffed animal, which was unique in that world, get torn apart. Disappeared. Or despaired? Yeah, despaired. Because it was the only one of its kind in the world, and she couldn't permit a compromise such as buying another one. She had despaired from the bottom of her heart.
でもサクタロウはここにいるわ。よりしろなんかなくてもここにいる。私がそれを認めているから、私の世界では確かに存在する。マリアお姉ちゃんが認めなくてもそれは否定できない。そうよね。
理屈ではそうですが、同じ理屈でマリア教にそれを認めさせることもまた困難かと思います。マリア、僕は死んでないよ。ここにいるのに。ウリュウ。
きっと六軒島でマリアお姉ちゃんに私は再会できると思うの。そして私は何が何でもお姉ちゃんの中のあなたを蘇らせて再会させる。
できるの？
難しいでしょうね。魔女同盟に誘われた私が意味を理解できず拒絶してしまったのと同じように、彼女もまたあなたの存在を拒絶するかもしれない。でもやるしかないわ。それが私にできる唯一の罪滅ぼしなのよ。
エンジ様。
六軒島で何が待つのか、そして何が起こるのか、何ができるのか、あるいは何も起こらないのかもしれないけれど。
The island, which was the beginning of everything, is the final destination of this journey.
あなたたちを連れて
I don't know why that part
魔女
wasn't
の影であ
voiced.
るあなたたちの主として魔女の島へ、六軒島へ帰らなければならない。
Even though the rays of sun have been so strong, at some point clouds have started to hang down. The spray that hit my cheek might not have all come from crashing waves.
エンジェさん、軽く一雨来そうですぜ。下へ降りた方がいいんじゃないですか？
Because it called out to me with an expression that said, "Oh, you're still here?" When I looked up, I saw that the island silhouette had gotten much larger. We might reach land very soon. I remembered that the weather report had mentioned scattered rains. The sky wasn't dark enough for rain clouds. It would probably just be a short time. Even though the rain was light enough to not to be a pain, having rain start fall as we approached the island felt like some kind of fate. It was raining on October 4th, 1986 as well. I'm approaching the Rokkenjima that day, and not just in distance. I went back down with Makusa. He was carrying what looked like a really large and heavy golf bag. It was something Makusa had brought back with him on a day when we'd split up. I didn't inquire as to its contents, but it was hard to imagine that they were anything peaceful.
中身はあえて聞かないけど、重そうね。
We are literally going to Rokkenjima. Finally! Sorry, I'm gonna do a good stretch. It's been an hour sitting in the exact same position. I wasn't moving much at all. Anyway, howdy howdy. Oh, let me sit back up and get a sip of coffee. What's inside the bag? I want to ask.
どうしてこいつらは重くてかなわないのか。フランス人の教官が面白いことを教えてくれました。何でもこいつらは重くあるべきだそうなんです。
They should always be heavy.
何しろ人の命は地球より重いんですから。こいつらはもっと重くて叱るべきなんだとか。
使う機会がないといいわね。
ないといいですな。
Because I set the golf bag like luggage down beside him. I was gonna start blasting. Helicopter? Or is that just the motorboat? Oh, they're in a plane now. I guess going to Rokkenjima. The two propeller aircraft touched down on the runway. Wow, didn't change at all in the past 12 years. That's amazing. Considering the weather, it couldn't have been a pleasant flight. Everything after this flight had been suspended due to weather. Cutting through the drizzle as she traversed the runways, Madara Kasumi entered the lobby with two black suits as guards. The four black suits had been waiting inside the lobby stood up and respectfully lowered their heads in a salute. There she is again.
二度と乗りたくないわ。
お車を用意しております。どうぞこちらへ。
They got in two luxury cars that had been rented.
エンジは六軒島へ向かうはずよ。無人島とは実に都合がいいわね。
Oh, it's gonna be another, like, bloodbath there, dude.
お道具は用意できてるんでしょうね。
Some tools, huh? The black suit in the passenger seat put up a heavy bag that had been set by his feet onto his lap. Opened the hatch with a click and showed Kasumi what was inside. Inside were several silver lumps of carefully wrapped aluminum foil. What? He peeled one open to show her. A black, blunt, automatic pistol peeked out of its face. Or peek its face out. They got guns? That's illegal. They can't do that. Boom, boom. Like this freaking industrial Silent Hill ass music going on. So we're about 9:45 or something. The first day, October 4th, 1986. We're going back. Oh man, I thought it never happened. Thought it wasn't gonna ever happen again. It's only been an hour. We keep going into the next, like, scene break thing. It was already approaching 10 at night. By now, the typhoon had wrapped itself around Rokkenjima. Even the rose garden that had looked so beautiful midday was beaten down upon by the fierce winds and resisted with all its might, undulating and trying to keep the flowers from blowing away. In that rose garden, with Shannon in the lead, Battler holding up an umbrella, Jessica and George carrying a sleeping Marie on his back, all heading for the guest house. Oh, is this after they were told to head back to the guest house after dinner? Or is this them going to dinner? No, because did they have dinner at 10?
ゲストハウスくらい俺たちだけでもいい
No,
って
they're
のに
going to the guest house. Alright, so it's after dinner?
いいんだぜシャノンちゃん戻って休んでてくれよ
いいえ、お送りするのも仕事ですので。
But what about the whole thing with the... with Kinzo showing up? I want to see... Did he actually show up? I want to see what happened, dude.
親族会議中はうちのお母さんとか源氏さんもピリピリしてるからな。下手に私たちが気を利かせるとシャノンがサボってると勘違いされちゃう。
そうだね。素直にお世話になった方がむしろ迷惑をかけないだろうね。ありがとうシャノン。
いいえ、確かにお嬢様のおっしゃられます通り、今日のお屋敷はピリピリしています。だから私も皆さんとご一緒して外の空気が吸えるのでちょっと肩が楽です。
Just saying that because George is here.
親族会議
Ooh, got the mystery music.
わざわざ俺たち子供を追い出すくらいだから相当タチの悪い話をするんだろうぜ。
Very astute observation, Battler.
だろうね。僕たちはきっと何の力にもなれない。せめて邪魔をしないようにするのが一番の協力だと思うよ。
どうせまた金って話だろうぜ。普段散々金持ちだと吹聴してるくせにいざとなったらもったいぶりやがる。パーッと気前よくみんなで山分けすりゃいいのによ。
そりゃ豪快な話だぜ。俺にも分け前がもらえりゃいいのによ。もし俺にももらえたらそん時はシャノンちゃんにも分けてやるからな。
That's okay, she doesn't need it. She's actually loaded.
どうもありがとうございます。
She like just never spends any of her paychecks, I guess.
お気持ちだけで嬉しいです。
シャノンは欲がないね。年頃の女の子なら買いたいものがいっぱいあるだろうに。
そうですね。
She only wants George.
欲しいものの中にお金で買えるものがありませんので。
ひゅー無欲だな。俺なんか欲しいもん全部並べたら金がいくらあっても足りねえぜ。
お金で買えるものにはだぜ。シャノンの言う金で買えない欲しいものって何かな。ジョージ兄さんは心当たりある？
さあ、なんだろうね。シャノンじゃないとわからないね。
私にもわかりません。
George and Shannon looked down, their faces red. Miller also heard what was going on with them, so he knew that Jessica was teasing them about. Oh, Jessica was teasing them out.
俺にとっても尊敬できるお人だ。シャノンちゃんは本当にいい人と巡り会えたと思うぜ。
だな。
Oops. Sorry, just messing with mouse.
私もジョージ兄さんなら安心してシャノンを任せられるぜ。
からかうのはよしてくれよ。僕たちにとっては真面目な問題なんだ。それよりジェシカちゃんの方だってどうなんだい？カノン君と少しは仲良くなれたのかい？
I'm starting to... Look, not because of this scene, but I'm starting to think on the first, like, set of murders and stuff in episode 1. How was Rosa killed again? Like, she was part of the first set of 6, but was her face Bastion? Or was it only half like some of the others? Also, you would think Maria would be a bit more upset knowing her mother died, but she wasn't. I don't know. Could she have actually had stuff to do with it? I mean, she was there when the last 3 died. What was it? Genji, Kumasawa, and Nanjo? Someone else needs to have been helping her, but who? If she was like part of it, cause I'm like thinking back to this because of that scene that we had with Angie on the boat. Like, Maria's always been like portrayed as, well, cause she is like a kid that couldn't have had much to do with anything in any of the incidents, but the whole thing with like that Witch Alliance and Beatrice and all that mostly exists because of Maria, right? Like, all the letters and whatnot are supposedly from Beatrice are pretty complex, not something you would think like a kid like her could do. But she also had this moment where like voice and like way of speaking and whatnot had changed completely when she was reading the letter during the like after the dinner thing that happens on this day. Hmm. Who would be the other person helping? Like Maria and all that in episode 1. How does the closed room trick work with the one with Eva and Hideyoshi? I keep coming back to like one or even both of them are faking it. I don't know. Wouldn't it be weird if this Eva was the culprit of episode 1 and is as well as episode 3? Yeah, suppose that's true. Never cares about people dying because they'll revive and go to the land. Why does she believe in that so deeply anyway? Does she just read the epitaph and decide that's how that'd be? Or did someone help her come to that conclusion? Who would have done it? I don't know. When we think more about like the alibis of everyone in episode 1, Eva's and Hideyoshi's are some of the weakest up until the point of their death. Hmm. I don't. Could it actually just be Eva again? Who else? How thoroughly did they check the room Hideyoshi and Eva were in? Could have this been as simple as someone hiding under a bed? Oh man. I want to look back. Hold on. Ah, it saved over the wrong one. I was supposed to save that one. Oh, it's over. My perfect set of save files. Title? I don't need to go back to that scene, I think. I think I mostly want to see how Rosa was. Yeah, her face was smashed. Show me. Actually, hold on. I think it'd be a bit faster if I just. That's a new sound effect. Never mind. I thought pushing that with no one selected would have them on die. It was her, Rudolph, Kyrie, Krauss, Goda, and Shannon. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half her face was still there. Okay, Goda's entire face gone. Her entire face gone. Here, let's keep the ones who have their entire face gone as. Huh. Only Shannon and Krauss had part of their faces intact. Hmm. Why does it suddenly have them all red there? Hmm. You're sus about them. I think it's worth mentioning that only Hideyoshi saw Shannon. That's true, but I think it was clear that there was a body there. He just prevented George from, like, looking at it. Like, George didn't go into storehouse, but Battler and Jessica were in there. Pretty sure Battler saw Shannon there. Actually, Cannon for sure was like sitting there staring at Shannon's face. But he's a servant, so would you be able to trust him? Probably, because why would he be working with Hideyoshi in the first place? Because of Eva? Hmm. I need to think back more. Who could be pretending to be? Oh, Beatrice at the very beginning when they gave Maria the umbrella and envelope. It could still be Rosa, maybe? You think? Like, she went out there, had a fight, came back to the thing, apparently took a nap for like who knows how long. Woke up, then went back out there to get her. Rosa Umineko would never kill her family. I don't know, man. She... I don't know, I think her level of greed is about the same as Eva's. Especially when you consider, like, the thing she's been doing. Like, taking vacations and all that. It seems she wants to be able to do all that stuff more. But can't because of Maria? Hmm. Maybe if she had more money, she'd be able to? Any case, that aside, if it was Rosa, how does the second mist work? First Twilight, second Twilight, Eva Hideyoshi, Kenzo, Canon, Genji, Anjo, Kumasawa. The last three. Face was smashed. Nanjo's face was also smashed. Mm. After the first, like, hold on. No, I don't think that quite pans out. I was thinking for a second, like, maybe Kraus or even Rudolph. I don't think Genji or Goda rather would be able to work. But maybe one of them, probably more likely Kraus, might have the six toe thing that Kinzo has. And since the body was burned and you couldn't really tell beyond the toes, maybe they could have just pulled the body out of the storehouse and then shoved it in the incinerator to pretend it's Kinzo's, but at the face was smashed. You think that would have been something noticeable on the burning corpse? Unlike the burnt corpse, rather. Maybe it's possible that it isn't. Only a piece of his face was smashed. Oda's entire thing was. It could. I was. Another thought is that Kenzo could have been killed a lot earlier. Because he was missing. After. No? Yeah, after the bodies were found. But he was talked to by Natsui. But she was the only one there to technically witness any of that. Eva was right behind, but didn't get to enter or see anything. Natsui was the last one to see Kenzo. What would Kenzo faking his death like that do? I was thinking for a sec maybe it's other way around. Like Kenzo actually died like near the start. And they used his body as a fake for one of the men here. And then after sealing that off and everything, they tossed his body in a incinerator afterwards. His body was used as a fake for one of the guys here. That only makes sense for Cross to do that. I'm thinking to episode 2 at the beginning where Natsui was talking to Cross and they said that Nanjo and Genji were on their side. Would that apply to the first episode as well? Or he just does it for fun? He's insane? Maybe. Her entire face is gone. Also, she grows like a couple inches whenever she dies. um, his entire face is gone. There's there's not many ways you can fake one of the girls' bodies, I think. Fake body. What could... That, like, whole, like, showdown thing that... Ui had at the end. She apparently shot herself? Found shot to death in front of the witch's portrait. What's with the little extra blood stain on her arm there? Okay, it's just clicking anywhere that isn't a person and then clicking execute allows me to execute everyone. Like, he has the extra thing because that's where the stake was. Same with him. A little bit on her shoulder, but I guess that might still be part of the big, like, blood splatter effect that they're using for the head there. Same with that. They have little bits on her. I wonder if I'm overthinking that. I don't know. It seems... That one seems a bit odd to me. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe. Everything was happening so fast and not like they could have inspected her body much or anything. Anyway, that was like a 30-minute detour. I needed to think more about it. What happened in episode 2? That was the introduction of the chapel stuff, right? Happy Halloween and all that. And episode 3 was the whole circle of closed rooms, and then like Eva killing everyone. And then we're in episode 4. We haven't resolved that yet. Happy Halloween. Who Maria specifically... Does that put more evidence on someone's working with Maria? Who would know much about how much Maria loves Halloween? In addition, where did they get all that candy? To make everything also elaborate and whatnot. All those, like, decorations and... like, treats and whatnot. Where did they get all that? They certainly didn't, like, bring anything like that in their luggage. That was so much stuff used there. Had to have been planned ahead of time, right? And the only ones really there, like, all the time would be Natsui, Jessica, and Kraus, right? But would they really have known, like, about all the Halloween stuff? That's the gameplay. This says gameplay? Alright, let's go back and continue where we were. Let's see where we finally got back to Rock and GMO. Let's actually continue and see where it goes. Where were we? The Serious AC for us. More importantly, what about you, Jessica? Have you been able to get a little closer to Kanon-kun? I don't know, then friggin' Battlers. All surprised about that?
お前カノン君とそういう仲なのかよ。
汚いぜジョージ兄さん。そういう話の切り返し方は汚いぜ。
They had an animated discussion with ups and downs. The four kids headed for the guest house. The annual family conference was extremely important to the Ashurmia family, and this year seemed like it was going to be especially important. Apparently, the family head Kinzo was personally going to be making a very serious announcement, and everyone other than the adults had been strictly ordered to leave. Huh. Butler hadn't attended a family conference in 6 years, so he didn't really notice, but according to Jessica, there seemed to be a very tense atmosphere tonight. Completely different from a normal year. Yeah, Kinzo's coming down for some reason. Common sense made it clear that Kinzo, whose remaining life was short, was going to make some big announcement about the succession of the headship and the distribution of his fortune.
しかし驚いたな。
Me too.
まさか本当にじい様が登場するとは。
なるほど。これが魔女の反撃というわけね。
金蔵というジョーカーはもう少し伏せていたかったところだが、そろそろ切るのが頃合いであろう。
Joker. Persona.
切り札は切るためにある。
くそ。じい様は最初から死んでて、その代わりに謎の18人目が紛れ込んでるっていう俺の推理は。
So I'm thinking more about episode 1. What makes it so difficult is that we don't got any of like the Red Truth stuff to try to help us out. It's just raw mystery. It probably makes it the hardest one to figure out, I think. I'm sure there's more clues and whatnot. I almost want to go back and reread the entire first episode to see if I notice anything different now that we're this far in. Man. Man. A melon. Damn this. Right.
ここに来ていきなりバッサリってわけか。
いつかはそなたが金蔵を疑いに来ることは読めておったわ。さあさあ、これでそなたの推理は再びゼロに戻ったぞ。
Kinzo being dead from the beginning does seem like something that's possible for episode 1. Being dead from the very beginning. No one has seen Kinzo at all in episode 1 aside from Natsui, who apparently had that talk with him. I guess the servants like Genji, Kanon Shannon too, but could they be trusted? Being servants and all that. If we take what Natsui was saying at the beginning of episode 2, that they had Nanjo and Genji on their side, and that applies to episode 1 as well, like that little scene there actually happened in episode 1, then we could take that as them being accomplices for helping out. We did get a little peek at I guess how would I call this? I like Nanjo's reasoning for wanting money would be during episode 3, like before he got killed. Apparently a sick niece or something. I don't remember the exact like details or words, but it was something like that. And needing money for that. So I feel like he could be bribed with money for helping out, that sort of thing. What would Genji's reasoning even be? Just still wanting to serve, like, anyone, no matter what, I guess? That much of a freaking robot? With Genji on their side, like, being the head servant, he could, probably easily order the others, Shannon, Canon, and whatnot, to just go along with what he says. Nanjo, Genji, and Kumasawa were dead at the end, but also their faces were completely smashed in. So could they have really been dead? Was that really their own bodies? Maybe you could fake Nanjo being dead by using Hideyoshi's body? Are they maybe about the same build? If we just assume that Hideyoshi actually did die? Maybe. If the head was completely bashed and you couldn't see, like, the hair or anything. Just put him in Nanjo's, like, clothes and that could work out. Hmm. Oh boy. Stop. I've spent like another 15 minutes thinking about this. But I said I was gonna stop and continue. I think it was like episode 2 that I was suspecting Nanjo Kumasawa. And I think Goda, I'm not sure about Goda anymore. That was mostly just me not liking him. But I think my reasonings for not having much trust in Kumasawa and Nanjo are still valid. I think they also still work out for episode 1. Oh, and actually, maybe that does make the closed room for Eva and Hideyoshi work out. The only ones who've seen and said the door has been locked, as well as cut the chain, were Genji and Canon, right? They could have easily just said it was locked, cut the chain, and then like pretended it was locked the entire time. That it was a closed room when it wasn't. Right? I don't think anyone else was there to perceive the lock even being set. The loves go to now. Nah. Hmm. Ah. Sorry, I'm like, one was typing, and two also thinking. Danjo, that's the reason. Genji, I just can't say. I can't think of any reason why he would want money in the first place or even help. Kumasawa, maybe I can see her wanting money too and helping out for a bit. Genji will probably just do anything his master says. Yeah, maybe it wasn't money for him. The thing that just doesn't fit all that well is that Natsui is dead at the end. Right? So couldn't it have been her, like, planning all this out? Nanjo, I believe, is part of it. I don't think it could be Eva Natsui. I don't think Kyrie would be part of it. Hmm. Masawa have been part of it? I don't know. I'm so... Okay, no, I gotta stop thinking. It's too much time just going back trying to think about what happened way back in episode 1. Being that you begin to doubt Kenzo eventually, yes. Now that everything has all gone back to square one again, has it? Alright, she... talking about how... in this one, Kenzo's alive and is at the family conference, I guess.
金蔵は最初から死んでいて、その代わりにわらわが18人目として紛れ込んでいたという推理はこれでパーだ。
くそだがついてけねえぞ。一つの推理が外れただけだ。嵐のように暴風のように襲いかかってやる。
そうでなくてはな、そうでなくてはな。まだまだ第一の晩祭始まっていないぞ。屈服にはあまりに早すぎる。
そうね。そして、
Oh yeah, you're
中で
here.
真実で否定されたわけでもない。今この瞬間の時点で、まだバトラの説は破られたわけではない。勝ったつもりになるのも早すぎるわよ。
そうだな。確かにあっさり鵜呑みにするにはまだ早いな。じいさまがいよいよ登場すると、やっぱり体調が悪くなったうんぬん言って現れない可能性だってある。じいさまは本当は死んでいるという事実をクラウスおじさんがギリギリまで苦し紛れで引き延ばしているだけかもしれない。
なるほどなるほど。そういう考え方もあるか。
なるほど。
好きにするがよい。すぐに決着する。すぐにな。
Alright. All of the relatives and Nanjo be seen in the dining hall. Why is Nanjo always there, man? Why is Nanjo always there? Why is Nanjo here? Always here. To everyone. He's Kenzo's, like, physician. Why is he always here? Why is he always... Why is he... Why is Nanjo always here? Hold on. No part in the... Like, he's not part of the family. No room in the money arguments. He's always just sitting there silently. He doesn't even want to be there. Why is he... He's... Like, he's here to eat because he's hungry. That's what's stated. But Kenzo always has his food delivered to the study. Why? If he's supposed to, like... If he's just hanging out with Kenzo doing their chess game and whatnot, why doesn't he just do the same thing? He doesn't need to be before all the family. Why is he always here? Always sticking around. Always on his... Not always on his own, I suppose. But there's a lot of scenes where he is. In episode 3. When we were at the guest house. When George, like, went to jump out the window or something. To go to Shannon. He was asked if he wanted coffee. He was in his room reading, not doing much else. Not much strong alibi there. The whole thing when they found all the bodies in the shed, he was just there reading. Why? He didn't need to be with everyone else all reading. Why is he always... Hold on, how... Where has an angel been in every single scene? He's usually hanging around the kids, like Battler, George, Jessica, them. Even up until the end, episode 1, he was around Maria. How... He's usually around... Usually around the kids. Usually around... where Maria is? Usually... Episode 2, where was he? Before the chapel thing. No, he apparently woke up early. They met him in the hallway, right? Fast forward. He's always there checking the bodies. But if he's in on it, can we trust him with that? They always have him there to check the body. Is that the only reason he's around? If he's helping whoever the culprit is that his purpose? Is this to conveniently be there? Oh man. Like, I was already pretty suspicious of Nanjo, but now am I overthinking it, or is this the right amount of thinking? What is up with Nanjo? I'm thinking back again, and I remember, I think it was in episode 1, how he said he had the epitaph written down in a notebook, and he always tried to solve it. Was he thinking of it as just a fun little brain exercise, or was he really intending to try to solve it? Does that, like, whole sick niece thing or whatever actually... Is it actually true? Does it count for every other episode? Is that always a constant? That's something happening on the outside and he needs some money for? He's Kinzo's, like, doctor, physician, whatever you want to say. So he's always saying how much time, like, Kenzo might have. Is the... If we say that Kinzo's been dead the whole time, how long has he been dead? We think back in episode 1, they didn't see him at all, like that family conference. When was the last time they saw them? Like, before... like, October 4th, I guess. Was it ever stated? Oh, no. I spent another, like, 10 minutes just trying to think of every scene Nanjo was in. When we think back to episode 1 and the whole thing with the letter being placed on the desk, Nanjo was one of the ones who was present there, who could have placed a letter. I believe that's why, like him, Genji, and Kumasawa gonna be accounted for and were suspicious and were driven out. I guess he or Genji could have done that. How much knowledge does Nanjo have of the, like, occult stuff? Hmm. They always say nobody would mistake a body, but that doesn't count for lying about them. the very least, they still saw Kenzo when the porter was placed, and that was 4 years prior. 84, 2 years ago. Okay, I couldn't remember it was 4 years or 2 years. I was trying to remember at what time Goda started working. Goda is recent hire, hired by Natsui herself. Ah, but that doesn't tie into how she died at the end of episode 1. I think it's pretty clear that she did die, so she couldn't have been in on it unless maybe she was betrayed. I don't know, man. Let's get to the end of the scene and get to our usual break before we start freaking thinking back for another 30 minutes. I'm getting no progress done in this at all. Ow, howdy darn. Stop hitting me. I need my brain to think. Just sat alone, quietly watching the wind and rain outside. Ross sat down in the seat of his own rink with Natsui standing motionlessly at his side. I'm just reading this again. Alright. The other siblings were gathered at the opposite end of the long table, whispering to each other.
そりゃ本当か。
ええ、マリアは傘をくれた人物を
Was Nanjo?
お父様だというのよ。
Wait, what? They actually changed it. His father. What?
なんちゅうことや。ということはつまり、わしらの作戦は根底から崩れたっちゅうわけか。
作戦も何もお父様が健在で自ら発表があると言った以上、もう兄さんとのくだらない駆け引きは一切不要だわ。
だな。くそ親父め。もったいぶらずにとっとと現れてくれりゃよかったんだ。おかげで俺たちは兄貴と無駄に揉めただけだ。
それを試したかったのかもね。血のつながってない私が言うのもなんだけど、あなたたちのお父様、かなり頭はいいわよ。
He is very something.
日中のやりとりは多分、使用人の誰かに聞かれて、お父様に報告されてたのよ。なんてこと。お父様の遺産が目当てで騒いでることは、もうバレバレってことじゃない。ああ、なんてことよ。
Eva uncharacteristically, fuck, held her head, dejected. If, as Curie had said, everything had been going according to Kinzo's plans from the beginning, and if this was a huge setup that had been kept up for over a year, trying to find his siblings' true intentions, then they had fallen for it completely.
お父さんの耳に入ったとまだ決まったわけやない。
Gonna come down. No one gets anything. And then goes back up.
いいえ、入ってるに決まってるわ。
兄さん以外の
No
全員
gold
が
for no
お
one.
父様は死んでいると言い切り、お父様の健在を信じなかった。ああ、もう終わりだわ。お父様は宣言するのよ。兄さんこそが跡継ぎで、私たちには片翼を身にまとう資格もないと宣告するのよ。
Just give it all to Maria. That'll show him.
あ、私は。
姉さん、しっかり。
ローザさん、マリアちゃんは本当にお父様に傘をもらったのかしら。
え、どういう意味？
マリアちゃんはお父様に会ったかもしれない。でも私たちは会ってないわ。マリアちゃんがそうだと主張しているだけよ。
そんな。マリアが嘘をついているというの？
落ち着けよローズ。マリアちゃんが嘘をつくとは言ってねえ。だがマリアちゃんは素直な子だろ。例えばだが、源氏さんあたりがこの傘はおじい様からマリア様に渡すように言われました。マリアちゃんは親父に会ったわけでなくても、おじい様に傘をもらったって言うかもしれねえぜ。
そうね。その手が考えられるわ。
だがな、マリアちゃんはこう言ったんやろ。おじい様がやってきて傘を渡してくれたと。
ええ、そう言ったわ。おじい様から直接受け取ったとはっきり言ったわ。
直接か。お手上げだな。
下手な考え、休むに似たりとはよく言ったものだわ。ちょっと考えてみたら、傘がどうこうなんてどうでもいい問題だわ。
どうしてよ。マリアちゃんが兄さんに買収されて、あたかもお父様が健在であるかのように嘘を頼まれたかもしれないでしょ。
How would she have been bribed?
傘が確かにお父様から渡されたなんて証拠、どこにもありはしない。
マリアちゃんが誰から傘をもらっていようとも、あるいは傘なんかそもそももらっていなかったとしても、お父様はもうじき現れる。現れたお父様の前に、傘の問題なんて全くどうでもいいこと。つまり、傘の問題が取り沙汰されるのは、そうでない場合ということよ。
そうでない場合ってのは何のことだ。
そうか。わかったで。キリエさんが言いたいのはこういうことやろ。お父さんもうすぐ出会ってくることになっとるが、また難癖をつけて結局現れん可能性がまだ残ってるっちゅうことやろ。
そうか。そうよね。私たちの追求に兄さんが苦し紛れの時間稼ぎでお父様が現れると出任せを言ったのかもしれない。やっぱりお父さん
Are they saying all of this in front of him, by the way? Isn't he still here?
兄さんは今なおまだ健在であると嘘をつき続けている。
つまり、お父様が現れれば、すべての策は通用しない。
In short.
考える必要もない。私たちは訴状の魚。
Fish?
運を天に任せて、お父様との直接交渉に臨むしかないわ。それこそ、土下座とげんこつを覚悟して、お金を無心するしかない。でも逆に、お父様が現れなければ、私たちの当初の作戦は何も揺るがない。
なるほど。つまり、どっちに転ぼうとも、今さらあたふたする必要は何もないってことね。
そういうこと。お父様が現れれば、本来の親族会議が行われるだけの話。現れなければ、私たちは引き続き、クラウス兄さんを追求すればいいだけの話なのよ。
お父さんの機嫌が急に悪くなって、みたいなクラウスさんの言い逃れを決して許さんようにせんとな。
どうやら私たちが本当に検討すべきは、兄さんがどんな策を浪してこの場をごまかそうとしてくるかよ。往生際の悪さは
私が一番よく知っているわ。
お父様がお元気なら、私たちは土下座してお金を無心し、クラウス兄さんの茶番だったなら、私たちは醜い兄弟喧嘩を再開し。
Hmm.
今年も素敵な親族会議になりそうね。
だな。下手な考え、休むに似たりってわけか。もうじき22時だな。兄貴に催促してみるか。
Rudolph and the rest looked at Cross. Where's Fuller? He was sitting down firmly, and it looked like he was awaiting Kinzo's arrival with an air of composure. They couldn't tell if he was really composed or if he was scheming how to tie together his lie.
あなた。
落ち着きなさい。もう今さらジタバタしても始まらん。源氏さんに任せよ
う。もうじき10時ですね。
That was the time that had been set for tonight's family conference to open, and it was the time that the Ushirimiya family had needed to appear. Right then, they heard the sound of footsteps approaching from the hall. There were multiple sets. Matsui raised her head, relieved. But because of the sound of a knock, her expression was filled with disappointment. Because Kinzo probably wouldn't have knocked. Yeah, it's Golda ruining everything again. His stock's going down. It was Golda and Kumasawa. Unlike the powerful Golda, it was rare for Kumasawa with her old body to be forced to work this late. Of course, Cross also seemed to know that.
ご苦労だった。こんな時間まで申し訳ないね、熊沢さん。
いいえ、こう見えてもまだまだ夜更かしは得意でございますので。
熊沢についてだけは立ち会いを外させても良いのでは。さすがに体に応えるでしょう。
使用人も全員揃えろとの命令だ。
Gather all of the servants. What about all of the goats? Tonight's family conference was clearly different from normal. On a normal year, no one is allowed to attend except family members. Got the servants present for such a thing was unthinkable. But this year was different. All of the servants were told to attend. Of course, they were not allowed to talk. They were there as observers. Just what in the world was happening that needed to be observed by 5 servants? Even Cross didn't know. Kinzo's gonna murder like 6 people right here.
徹夜はこう見えても強いんですよ。旦那様もサバをもりもり食べれば夜ももっとたくましくなれますよ。
Alright.
なるほど。まだまだお元気でおられる。100歳になっても元気でお勤めに違いない。
奥様、勝手ながら軽食の準備をさせていただきました。いつでも配膳できますので、ご指示を頂戴できればと思います。
ありがとう。やはりあなたは気が利きますね。他の皆さんにコーヒーのおかわりを勧めてください。
Nope, refills on coffee.
かしこまりました。
We need to wait until scene break to do that. After nodding, Goda took the pot towards the relatives gathered at the other end of the table. As he did, more footsteps approached from the hallway. It was a single set, and it was light. Even before the knock, they could imagine who it was. Damn you, Genji. Oh, Shannon. Never mind. I guess Genji wouldn't have a light footstep. Maybe he walks daintily, though. Who knows?
ご苦労でした。今夜は特別な
Every set of footsteps is giving them heart attacks, I assume.
緊張感を欠かさないように。
はい。
Stay
かしこま
alert.
りました。奥様。
Why would she need to stay alert? Genji had gone with Kanon to meet Kinzo. There was still no sign of their return. They have died. They're starting the Twilight early. The hand of the clock passed 2200 slightly. Unsure of that, Eva spoke to Cross.
兄さん、もう時間だけれども、親族会議まだ始まらないのかしら？
主品の到着が遅れている。しばらく待ちたまえ。
いつまで？悪いけど時間を切ってもらうわよ。お父様がなかなか来ないなんてのを延々と続けて夜明けまで待たされたらたまらないわ。
親父殿のお越しになる時間を私が約束などできるものか。何を焦っているのだね。
Why is she in such a
ま
rush?
ずはコーヒーでも飲んで落ち着かんかね。
兄貴、俺たちは親族会議のために集まってるんだ。茶番じゃない。あと30分は待つ。だがそれでダメなら書斎に押しかけさせてもらうぜ。
押しかけるとは物騒な当主様への敬いにあまりにも欠ける行為です。そうよね。ごめんなさい。あと30分はおとなしくしてるわ。
She's so mocking. I hate her.
30分後にも同じ笑いが浮かべられるか楽しみだ。
親父殿が死んでいると。
それを今さら議論する気はないわ。お父様がここにやってくればいいだけの話。兄さんを言いまかす必要なんて。
But if Kinzo was alive, but they heard him fall down the stairs and he died right there. What then?
後ろ宮家当主は正当なる人間へ。正当なる手続き。お前が何の策を浪したところで何も抗えんよ。
I glossed over what she said. Then wait until father comes here. There's simply no need for me to argue you down. Okay. More stairs can't kill Kinzo. Or mere stairs. Alright, he is! Yeah, the goldsmith is much too powerful. It simply shattered the stairs with each step.
もちろん私もな。
何をわけのわかんないことを。今まで散々自分こそが次期当主だと威張ってきたくせに。
お前の言葉をそのまま返そう。それを今さら議論する気はないね。親父殿がやってきて自らの口でそれを宣言すればいいだけの話だ。
Come on, I want to see him already.
必要などどこに
Get to it! Hurry! Ross casually turned Eva's words back on her. Of course, that added oil to Eva's anger. But it didn't ignite. Because in that instant, the very sound of a loud knock rang out. It's him! Both Genji and Kanon were usually very reserved when they knocked. They wouldn't hit the door with such violent strength. It was like a judge's gavel slamming down and a call for silence. So everyone went quiet. The door opened slightly and Genji showed himself. Then he spoke with a serious tone different from his usual one. It wasn't the tone used when carrying out his duties. It was the tone used when speaking for Kinzo himself. So just by hearing Genji speak like that, the siblings were struck with a sudden tension. I will be speaking for Kinzo through this door. No, you cannot still see him. But he is here with me. Leave. At those words, the dining hall was wrapped in total silence, and everyone hurriedly returned to their designated seats. It was as those students who had been bustling around just before homeroom had suddenly returned to their seats when the teacher came. And it might even have looked humorous. But there was no way anyone would joke about it. Battler would if he was there. Everyone sat in order, and Shun, Goda, and Kumasawa stood up straight in a row by the wall. The island that sparkles gold. Of the double doors that led to the dining hall, Genji opened the right door from the inside, and Kanon opened the left door from the outside. He's here! What a boom! He arrives. And welcomed by a respectful bow from those two, majestically fluttering his cape, Kenzo appeared. Kenzo's gait and dignified weight to it. Or it had dignified weight to it, and it was hard to believe that he had reportedly been at the end of his life. Genji pulled back Kenzo's seat and motioned for him to sit. But Kenzo stayed standing, signaling with his chin for Genji to move back. Why is he so cool?
ようこそ諸君、六軒島へ。何を怯えた顔をしておるのか、エヴァ。
She thought you were dead! She was so ready to get the money from Cross.
そんな怯えてるなんて。お父様が大変お元気そうなので、ほっとしただけで。
What is this face? I don't think I've ever seen it.
エヴァ、お前は相変わらず面白いな。クラウスとの賭けに負けて悔しいと素直に言えばよいのに。言えないよな。
Never realized that their conversation during the day had indeed been leaked to Kenzo, and she hung her head, turning her head.
さてと、我が息子たち娘たち、お前たちの就寝している我が財産と当主の継承について、今宵は重要な発表をしようと思う。
Oh man.
まず最初に、私はひどく失望していることを伝えようと思う。それは今日まで誰にもあの碑文の謎を解くことができなかったということだ。
You can tell us the answer? Even though Kenzo said he was disappointed, a condescending smile rose to his face, as though there was no way the likes of these could have solved it, and his gaze passed through all of them.
私はあれを解けた者に全てを譲り渡すつもりでいた。しかし今日までに誰も解くことができず、我が全ては誰にも継承されることなく、ここに至っているわけだ。情けない。
It's the crazy eyes. Oh, shameful.
お前たちの中にそれを受け継ぐ資格を持つ人間が現れなかったことが。
It's like his eyes aren't like pitch black, but they sure look like it with them open wide like that. Oh, like...
私は心底残念であり、そして情けなくざまあないと思っている。
The siblings hung their head in silence. Of course they would have solved it if they could. True, they couldn't deny that they wasted a golden opportunity, but it was just so hard. The epitaph... It's just so difficult to solve. They couldn't do it.
私は碑文の謎にて我が継承者を選ぶことをここに中止することを宣言する。
Oh?
つまりはタイムオーバー。ゲームオーバーというわけだ。残念だったな、お前たち。
It's poking me out. Something freaking poking my arm, like scratching at it. What a shame for you.
お前たちには等しく公平にチャンスがあったはずなのに、それが今ここについえた。
It truly sounded like Kenzo was making a victory proclamation.
ならば、当主は長男のクラウスに継承されるのか。答えはノーである。
Oh.
わかっているよな、クラウス。 お前には確かに次期当主という肩書きを与えた。だがお前はそれに溺れただけだ。次期当主というのはどういう意味かわかるか？
お父さんの後を継ぐという意味です。
違う。
Wrong.
次期当主というのは当主が約束されたものではない。いいかクラウス、
What you getting
二
at?
度と教えないからよく聞けよ。次期当主というのはな、自分以外にも当主を狙う奴がいたら、その花を徹底的にへし折って二度と逆らえないようにしてやる奴のことを言うのだ。
Holy.
これは何も当主だけのことではない。金についても言える。金持ちというのは金を持っているやつのことではない。自分より金を持っているやつすべてを叩き潰し、そして誰よりも金をかき集められるやつのことを言うのだ。才能も同じ。天才とは才能に秀でたやつのことではない。自分より秀でたやつをすべて叩き潰し、自分を天才とすべての人間に呼ばせることを力とカリスマで強要できるやつを指している。
Sure has a way of
お
doing
前
things.
はそのすべてにおいて勘違いしているのだよ。だから次期当主の器ではないのだよ。
勉強になります。
Perhaps that truly was Kinzo's philosophy. As a result of faithfully carrying out that rant-like philosophy of his, Kinzo had glorified the Uchinomiya family to the state it was in today. It may be hard to imagine after his immersion in the occult in recent years, but that brutally overbearing outlook was no more or less than Uchinomiya Kinzo's charisma and aura.
このような不甲斐ないクラウスに後ろ宮家のすべてを継承する資格などない。ならばエヴァ、ルドルフ、ローザの3人にはあるのか？
No.
これもノーである。非分の謎を解けず、さりとてクラウスを引きずり下ろす策も浪せず、お前たちにできたのは3人寄せ集めで共同戦線を張ってクラウスから金をせびろうとしたことだけ。しかもその策も浅はかそのもの。クラウス一人を追い詰めることさえできやしない。情けないことこの上なし。次期当主の座をどんなことをしてでも奪い取ろうという貪欲さが足りぬ。欲しいもののためにはいかなる犠牲も払い、どこまでも貪欲となるべし。強欲となるべし。幸運の女神は貪欲なる者にこそ微笑む。
That's why people gamble.
その野生の精神がないお前たち3人にクラウス同様に継承の資格などありはしない。
Eva and the rest had no words to respond with, and they couldn't calculate what it was Kinzo was about to say. Was Kinzo actually planning to proclaim that no one would succeed a headship? If so, that would work to Eva, Rosa, and Rudolph's advantage. After all, in the end, they just have to renegotiate everything among the siblings after Kinzo's death, splitting up the inheritance evenly. Yet surely it would be more troublesome if a specific person's name was raised and proclaimed to be a successor. I proclaim Nanjo as my successor. He's always here and cool. Now, but would Kinzo really say something to benefit any of the 4 siblings after demeaning them so much?
まさか誰にも引き継がないからと財産をす えて慈善団体にでも寄付するとか言い出すつもりじゃないでしょうね。
It would be funny.
お父様ならやりかねないという恐怖はあるわ。
頭に血が上ってるだけさ。しばらくは聞き流すしかね
では王父さん、次期当主についてはどういうお考えをお持ちですか？
お前たちに完全に失望した以上、私は誰に引き継ぐ気も失った。よって後宮家はこれで終わる。
Servants, Genji, kill everyone here.
私の代で終わりだ。
そういうわけには。
後宮家などあの震災の時にとっくに滅んでおるわ。
You gotta stop saying that, dude.
今の後宮家など私が束の間だけ見ている黄金の幻想に過ぎぬのだ。私が夢より覚めれば終わる程度のもの。
Don't know why I keep sticking in your... Stop! You have a problem, just stop saying it and maybe it'll go away soon.
この世などすべては夢、幻。生など死という目覚めの前には白昼夢と同じよ。ああ、そうだ。元よりそうだったのだ。私が死ぬ時に全てを失うのがベアトリーチェとの契約、そして呪い。さあ行くか、ベアトリーチェ。お前を捕らえるのはこの私だ。今宵それは現実となるだろう。
For a while, Kinzo was overcome with cackling, his eyes bulged. Whenever he talked about Beatrice, it was always both eloquent and insane.
お前たちのような愚かなる息子たちなどまさに白昼夢。初めからいなかったも同然よ。消えろ、覚めろ。真実の私のまどろみと共に消え去ってしまえ。私を継承するに値する何者も築き上げてこなかった出来損ないどもめ。
金蔵さん、よろしいか
な。何か我が友よ。
My only friend here. For some reason, here. Oh, Nanjo didn't go back with everyone else to the guest house this time around. I'm now noticing. I'm pretty sure every single time that Battler and the others went to the guest house, Nanjo also like followed, right? Nanjo nervously raised his hand, asking to speak. Enzo allowed him to.
金蔵さんの気持ちもわかる。子供たちを愛するがゆえに大きな期待を寄せ、それゆえ同じく子供や孫を持つ身としてよくわかります。
Parent and grandparent. Hmm.
しかし、金蔵さんは非凡だ。天才だ。そんな金蔵さんに追いついて当然というんではちょいとひどすぎるんじゃないかね。それでもそんな金蔵さんに追いつこうとクラウスさんもエヴァさんもルドルフさんもローザさんも、そしてその伴侶の皆さんもよく頑張っています。
ほほう、よく頑張ってどの程度の金を稼ぎ上げたというのか。
Probably in the negatives.
事業にことごとく失敗して借金を抱え、未だに私のすねをかじろうという間抜けどもの どこがよく頑張っていると言えるのか。この世のすべては金として結晶しているのだ。それがつかめぬということはこの世を掴んでおらぬということ。魂がこの世をしっかり掴んでおらぬということは生きるに値せぬということだ。
I'm actually starting to wonder if Kinzo actually is gonna just kill them all here. How many are here again? Them, Hideyoshi, that. Rose is here too, though. There are more than 6 people here? Nothing says he can't kill more, though.
我が生と現実から消え去ってしまえ。
それは暴論です。その理論から言ったら私だって生きていてはいけないことになる。そんな私でも金蔵さんと過ごしたチェスの時間は共に価値あるものだったと信じていますぞ。世の中お金で買えないものもたくさんあることを金蔵さん自身が誰よりもご存知のはずだ。
As the siblings motionlessly hung their heads, they cheered Nanjo on inside their hearts. Now, one of the siblings could offer their opinion in front of Kinzo in a rage, but Kinzo's close friend Nanjo alone was allowed to. Even though Kinzo had raged so fiercely after being admonished by Nanjo, he nodded several times as though in agreement. This surprisingly obedient side of him might have seemed cute, but there was no way anyone here could laugh.
確かに息子さんたちは金蔵さんほどの財は築き上げられなかったかもしれない。
Did I read that right? But there's no way... But there was no one here who could laugh. What? My brain be swapping words for entire other words. Still got the meaning across, but...
まあ、それでも私から見れば羨ましいほどのお金持ちではありますがな。しかしお金だけでなくお金では買えないたくさんのものを築き上げました。それについて言えば金蔵さんにも負けないくらいです。
ほう、金で買えぬ何を積み上げたというのか。
幸せです。家族です。彼らは素晴らしい伴侶を見つけ、子を産み、それぞれの幸せな家庭を築かれています。あなたの一族を繁栄させ、そして孫を連れ帰ってきてくれました。孫はいいですぞ。私たち年寄りは、私たちには見ることもかなわぬ新しき時代を生きるだろう若き孫に、それは老境の唯一の楽しみではありませんか。思い出しなさい。金蔵、彼らが初めて孫を連れて帰ってくれた時の喜びを。
He was happy about that?
息子さんたちは、そして孫たちは金蔵さんの偉業を後の世まで伝え模範としてくれることでしょう。それはお金がいくらあろうとも孤独なる身にはなせぬことです。
Siblings all nodded in agreement. Certainly Kinzo had looked happy when his grandchildren had just been born. Back when he was still had some sanity in his heart. However, did Kinzo's heart still contain a human's warmth?
それはつまり、私が成した巨万の富の代わりに、金を儲ける代わりに孫を儲けたと、そういうわけか。
いえいえ、そういう意味では。
私が稼ぎ上げた数百億という財産の代わりに、息子たちは一人ずつ孫を設けたというわけか。それは素晴らしい。
Wonderful! That will be the first sacrifices. Genji, who did the guest house?
つまりは100億を投じて命を一つ生み出したと。そういうわけだ。これは面白い。錬金術的に考えて実に面白い例えではないか。ほう、なんと価値ある孫たちなのか。
Oh no.
素晴らしい素晴らしいそうなのかクラウス。お前の娘には100億の価値があるというのか。
Poor MG Kenzo already forgot she exists. Cue the backstory again. Cross couldn't answer instantly. It wasn't that he didn't have confidence in his daughter, it was because he didn't have a clue what Kenzo was trying to test him with in this question. But when Natsui was then pressed for an answer, she responded, breaking Cross's silence with an answer of her own interpretation.
はい、ジェシカは100億のお金を積まれても手放せない娘です。その意味において、お金では数えられない価値があると信じています。
Okay, answer.
ほう、100億の価値があると言い切るか。ほほう。エヴァはどうか。お前のところのジョージはどうだ。
The Natsui to answer that way, Eva naturally came up with her own answer as well. Even though Eva should have known better than to respond to a provocative question like this, she answered as well.
お父様、ジョージには100億の、いいえ、それ以上の価値があります。それはお金で買えないという抽象的な意味ではありません。ジョージは必ずや自らの価値に等しいだけの財産を築き上げるでしょう。お父様の偉業を継ぐにふさわしい孫となるはずです。
Eva sent a glance at Hideyoshi and Natsui as if she scored a point. She heard what Eva had said. Natsui was about to add more praise for her daughter, but stopped at a glare from Cross.
なるほど。ならばルドルフはどうか。お前のところのバトラはどうだというのか。
うちのバトラはジョージ君に比べられちゃ威張れることは何もねえ。誘拐されて身代金を100億よこせと脅されたらのしをつけて進呈したい程度のやつではある。
That's so messed up.
さらにバカで無鉄砲だ。偉そうな夢やできるわけもねえことを語り出す。その一点においてはバカ100億人分に匹敵する大バカだろうさ。だがバカもできねえ凡人どもが100億人束になってもできねえことをきっとあいつはやり出すだろうよ。
Like get trapped in an endless void of purgatory, battling against a witch for all eternity.
ま、俺はどうせこけるだろうとは思ってる。世の中は甘くねえ。しかし100億の凡人を眺めるよりは奴の人生は干渉して愉快なものになるだろうことだけは疑ってねえぜ。
Eva clicked her tongue at that clever style of speech, which would probably match Kinzo's tastes. Apparently, Rudolph had done that on purpose, so he grinned back at her.
マリアはどうか。
She's a witch.
マリアは私の可愛いたった一人の娘です。お金の価値で測れるものではありません。それだけです。
なるほど。夢と未来、奇跡と可能性は我が魔力の源泉だ。希望をなくしていかなる魔法も力を持ちはしない。すでに凡百であることを証明してしまったお前たちには何を期待することもかなわないが。なるほど。孫たちには未来の可能性があり、魔法的奇跡を期待する価値はあり得るというわけか。それをもって100億以上の価値と言ってみせるなら、わからぬでもない。
Kinzo got in a rage. He wouldn't let anyone speak up, but even so, he would sometimes accept something of his own while yelling by himself and change his own opinion. That's what this felt like to the siblings. Apparently, even though Kinzo had been disgusted by his unsuccessful children and had cast them away as being unfit for the inheritance of his title or his fortune, He wasn't sure about his grandchildren. At this rate, he may soon say that the inheritance would go to his grandchildren instead of the siblings. As the siblings sat in fear what their fickle and short-tempered father might suddenly think of next, they carefully watched his every move. If Rosa just said that Maria's an expert at the occult, Kenzo would probably hand the headship right there. He probably would have. Oh, she likes magic. She's a witch. All the gold for her. Her only.
考えを少し改めよ。お前たちに我が全てを継承する気は全くない。しかし、孫たちの誰かにその資格があるかどうかを問うのはなかなかに面白いことだ。いつまでも子供だと思っておったが、ひょっとすると私を驚かせるような原石のきらめきを見せてくれるかもしれぬ。そしてそれを期待し試すのは、なるほど。我が余生最後の道楽としても捨てがたい。はあ、さて、これはどうしたものか。
ジョージならお父様の後を継ぐにふさわしいと私は自信を持って推薦できます。
I'll claim that right away. Natsui looked like she was about to follow along, but Cross gave her a look telling her to restrain herself, so she swallowed her words.
勇ましいではないか。では、こうしよう。後宮家の家督と財産のすべてを受け継ぐ資格があるかどうか、孫たちに個別に問おうではないか。
お父様。
しかし、それはお前たちの誰かに間接的に家督を引き継ぐという意味ではない。お前たちにはすでに失望しているのだ。お前たちに与えるものは今や何もない。何もな。私が問うのは孫たちだ。そして引き継ぐかもしれないのも孫たちだ。それを決して勘違いするな。
お父さんの判断に従います。
同じくだ。親父の決定に従うぜ。なあ、姉貴。
もちろんよ。お父様が賢明な判断をされると信じています。
私もお父様の判断に従います。
孫たちをどのように試すかは考えよう。そしてそれはお前たちには今さら関係のない話だ。当主継承とお前たちはもはや何の関係もないのだから。だからこの場ではお前たちに関係のあるもう一つの話をしようではないか。
Oh, yeah? Different matter.
もう一つの話とは。
それこそが今宵の、そして後宮家最後の親族会議の本当の理由だ。
Final one, huh?
お前たちに求めるのは議論でも意見でもない。我が儀式に協力を求めるためだ。
儀式？
静かに。お父様がお話をなさっている最中よ。
Rudolph and the rest had automatically narrowed their brows at the cult-like word. Would he be planning to start some strange ceremony involving Beatrice's resurrection again? 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 What do you mean again? And he wanted their assistance? What in the world was he planning to do? Whose perspective is this? In the past, he had carried out many eccentricities that he called by the same name, such as starting to burn a strange incense and filling the whole mansion with stench. Oh, I guess he's done similar resurrection type things before. To the siblings, the ceremony was nothing more than one of the aged Kenzo's obnoxious hobbies.
お父さん、 儀式とは一体。
私たちに協力できることなら何でもご協力します。
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Eva. Die.
ねえローザ。
ええ。でも一体何を。
私が碑文に刻んだ通りの儀式だ。ベアトリーチェを蘇らせ、黄金鏡の扉を開く儀式である。肉体の檻を逃れ、私の指の隙間を嘲笑うようにすり抜けるあの魔女を今度こそ捕らえ、屈服させる私の最大の秘術だ。
Wasn't this stuff? There's the connection with episode 3 again. Escaping the cage of flesh.
そのために13人もの命を生贄に捧げねばならぬがな。
How many people are here? I guess exactly 13 if you don't count Kinzo, right? 1, 2, 5, 8, 9, 11. Yeah, if you don't count Kinzo, there's 13 other people in the room. These dweebs went. All the servants are here.
13人もの生贄は容易には集まらん。
Luckily, there's 13 people in this room with me right now.
しかし、今宵は親族会議。これだけの大人数が六軒島に集まった。この儀式が行えるのは、今日を置いて他にないのだ。
Taken literally, it sounded like he was telling them to become human sacrifices for his dark ceremony and die. Ridiculous. Was it some kind of metaphor? Free Fantasio? But they didn't even have a clue as to what he was trying to illustrate. Siblings whispered together about what Kinzo was saying.
親父は何を言ってるんだ。いつもの悪い病気か。
だろうな。しばらく黙って聞いてやる。
ごめんなさいお父様。どういう意味でおっしゃられているのか分かりかねます。
何が分かりかねるというのか。私は至極単純に話している。ベアトリーチェを蘇らせる儀式のために、この島にいる人間から13人を選び、生贄に捧げようと言っている。
Surely he isn't just gonna kill like all 13 of them right here, right now, and do like every single freaking Twilight back to back. Leaving Kinzo and just these 4 around for the rest would be insane.
何の価値もないお前たちも、我が儀式の生贄としてなら大いに役に立てるというわけだ。聞け、これは冗談でも何でもない。我が人生の最後に欲する最後の賭け、最後の儀式である。この島には今13人を超える人間がいる。つまりこの膨大な数の生贄を容易に満たせるだけの頭数が存在するというわけだ。お前たちは我が儀式の生贄となれ。
金蔵さん、あんたまさかあの話は本気だったのかね。
Again.
ではなく。
Unusually for him, Nanjo's face changed color as he stood up and shouted. It seemed this wasn't the first time Nanjo had heard all this dark talk about 13 sacrifices.
すまんな我が友よ。あれは冗談でも何でもない。我が生涯を賭して最後に挑む儀式でありゲームなのだよ。そう、これはゲームだ。お前たちにとって我が財産を得て島を出ることがゴールならば、 それを達する方法は2つしかない。13人の生贄から逃れ見事生き残り、今更ながら非分の謎を解いて儀式を止めてみせるか、私を殺しこの儀式を止めてみせるか。この2つしかない。
By now, everyone wasn't just whispering, but chattering and muttering away. Even the siblings had noticed that Kenzo was beginning to act abnormally.
お父さん、少しお疲れなのでは、源氏さん。お父さんは少し酒を？いいえ、親方様はご明晰であらせられます。
He's just being Kenzo. Don't worry about it.
悪いけど親父、何を言い出すのかさっぱりだぜ。親父が愛する魔女を蘇らせるためにどんな怪しげな儀式を追っ始めてもそりゃ自由だぜ。親父の趣味なんだからな。だがそいつに巻き込まれて生贄にされるのはまっぴらごめんだぜ。
ルドルフ、お父様の話に口を挟む気？
何言ってんだ姉貴。こんな物騒な話にはいそうですかでうなずけるわけねえだろ。
Was the ceremony Kenzo had mentioned literally something disturbing, or was it some kind of test to choose the successor? It seemed that Rudolph had taken it literally, but Eva apparently still believed that it was something like a test or examination to find a proper successor. But Kenzo responded with a clear smile.
さて、私からの話は以上だ。異議も意見も何にも必要はない。4人の不出来なる息子たちがいたという私の夢が覚めるだけの話なのだ。お前たちにとってこれより目の前で起こることはまさに夢、幻、あるいはこの世のものと思えぬ理解に及ばぬ世界だろう。しかしそれこそが我が現実。お前たちという出来の悪き浅い夢は今こそようやく覚めるのだ。さあ、もうゲームは始まっているぞ。これだけいては誰から命を奪えばいいものやら。さらばだ、出来の悪き息子たちよ。そして生涯でただ一度、そして最後に私の儀式のために役に立て。いでよ、ペンドラゴンの記念兵たちよ。
Like fucking excuse me, dude? When Kenzo raised his arms high like an opera singer and yelled as though towards a packed audience, the air shattered like glass, and the outlines of 3 people who supposedly hadn't been invited to this island appeared. He can summon the bunnies! Whoa, a third one. Double O. They're like a scar on her ear. She's tough. We get to see her immediately? Probably not. I have to wait a little bit. The girls with strange forms suddenly appeared behind Ginzo. Where from? When? Who? Who were they? The humans were thrown off balance and their minds went blank because they spent all that time thinking they lost their last chance to survive. He's losing all his auras, summoning some cute bunnies after that tirade. I don't know, I think it boosted his aura. That's sick as hell, dude. I wish I could summon bunnies like that.
攻撃開始。
自由射撃了解であります。良き標的に感謝。かっこ自由射撃開始。
一番乗りだね。シャッハ。
When 410 scratched the air with her finger, a golden bow appeared in empty space and she pulled its string. Golden arrow that had been ready there was fired off without any hesitation and flew around the room, leaving haphazard gold curves everywhere, and chose Natsui from among those sitting at the table of the family conference, pulverizing the left half of her face. Oh, doing the face smashing again, huh? Flesh and deep red blood scattered around, leaving massive red splatter marks on the relatives' faces and pure white tablecloth. Silence fell. Despite the massive number of deep red spots left on the tablecloth, no one could understand why Natsui's head was half smashed, nor why she was hanging her head as though dozing while still sitting. They watched on in silence. Those sitting on Natsui's right-hand side were silent for a relatively long time. But those sitting to her left were not, because the people sitting on that side had been shown how her head had been smashed open like a watermelon or a pomegranate, and could even see inside her.
まずは一人夏日か最後まで運のない女だ次
WO 射撃
After scratching the empty air in the same way and readying her bow, the below fired as well. After it flew around at high speeds like the golden arrow portended released, drawing a cold, convoluted curve in the same manner, it smashed half of Rudolph's head in the same way as he looked at Natsui in shock, killing him instantly. This time, everyone managed to avoid freezing up mentally. They realized that a fearsome murder had started playing right out in front of them, just as Kinzo had said, and they realized that Kinzo would probably kill even more. Chill screams burst out. Even so, they didn't know what to do, so they could only keep screaming and flapping their wide open mouths like goldfish. As Eva asked Kinzo at that in total shock, Hideyoshi had come to his senses faster than anyone else and risen to his feet, pulled at her arm from behind. However, merciless fate chose for the third sacrifice. Merciless fate's choice for the third sacrifice was Hideyoshi. Just like the two before him, half of Hideyoshi's head was neatly smashed. The right side of his head, which had happened to be facing that direction at the time, had been blown away with its contents exposed like a watermelon or a pomegranate. So still holding Eva, Hideyoshi slumped backwards and fell down. Still held by her beloved husband, Eva fell over backwards with him. Eva screamed. It was only natural. The face she had been looking for had been half lost. In the crushed skull, the smashed brains, in the crushed jaw, all lay bare.
45着弾命中
見事だ
Three more.
続けて撃て残りは3人であるぞお父さんこれは何の真似です
When Cross stood up forcefully, he was about to rush Kinzo. Double O blocked him. With her slender-looking body, she held back Cross with just the palm of her right hand. He still tried to resist and attack Kinzo, so Double O lifted Cross by the nape of the neck and twisted into his Adam's apple with her thumb. It seemed to be very painful, and Cross was overcome with agony. And those sharp words finally dissolved the spell that had been holding them down in their chairs. When Goda and Kumasawa each tried to escape their dining hall first. 410 moved in an instant and appeared there, blocking the way.
にひすっとろいに逃がすと思ったかに
お助け
ゴーダさん伏せて
Even though Goda didn't understand, he crouched when he heard Kirei's sharp voice. Then a burst of air rushed above his head. Kirei had taken a big swing with a chair to mow 410 down. But 410, still with a mocking expression, easily caught that while he swung chair with a single hand.
おっかない女だに旦那の
人がそんなに追いたい？
From the cuff of her arm where she had caught the chair, something like a shining golden snake appeared, wrapped itself around the chair, and burst open. It was a fearsome power, like a vice. When Kiri realized that the being in front of her, which looked like a girl, was actually something that surpassed human knowledge and that a human could not even begin to oppose, her head was filled with a fierce alarm bell that welled up from deep inside her. Genji, Shannon, and Kanon, all of the servants permitted to wear their one-winged eagle, continued to stand calmly at attention by the wall. Even with a scene like this, like before their eyes. Kyrie doesn't have her envy buff from the last episode. If only she had it here. Make him look very bizarre and eerie. For an instant, Kyrie thought they managed to stay calm because they were with the enemy, and been given a guarantee that they would be killed. But then one of them died right now! But as soon as she thought that, a side of Genji's face was blown away before her eyes.
45着弾命中。
ほほう、源氏め、これは運が悪い。安らかに眠れ、我が友よ。そなたの死は無駄にはならぬぞ。我が愛しき魔女復活の重要なる13の鍵の一つとなるのだから。
Interesting selection of deaths so far. The half of Genji's expression that remained was indifferent as ever. He tilted, fell over, and sent a blood-red splatter out across the floor.
源氏様。
僕たちなんて所詮は魔女の駒なんだ。所詮
From the meek and frustrated, no, resigned expressions on Jianakan's faces, one couldn't sense any naive hopes that they'd been rescued. That's right, Kinzo was, in the truest sense, carrying out these murders at random. In the truest sense, he was killing like it was a game to see who would be saved and who would be killed.
さて、次は誰を狙うかに。
Forten looked at Kyrie for a second. In that second, Kyrie was prepared for her own death. But when she readied her golden bow in midair, Forten was looking at someone else over Kyrie's shoulder. So, as imprudent as it was, Kyrie felt as though she had been saved. Again, an ugly exploding popping sound rang throughout the room. Who was it this time? And Kyrie turned to face the direction of the sound. She saw blood gushing like a fountain, Eva lying on her husband's chest. Of course, her face had been smashed just like her husband's. Forten had mercilessly targeted Eva as she clung to her husband's corpse, sobbing. Rosa's objection didn't reach Kinzo as he continued to laugh loudly in the blood-splattered dining hall. She wasn't able to lessen Cross's pain at being lifted up by the nape of the neck by Double O, so Rosa had no choice but to use force. He lifted up a chair beside her and gave a warning.
できぬな。それを望むならば、お前の自らの力で阻止するがよい。自らの運命は自らの手で切り開け。常に誰かの背に隠れ、怯えてきたお前に宿る人生最後の国旗を見せてみよう。
She's doing it! The chair that Rosa lifted up swung down at the father who had resigned as a symbol of terror for her entire life. Who had reigned as a symbol of terror for her entire life. My bad. I can't read. It was the greatest and final act of bravery and self-control in Rosa's life. What Kinzo had said might have been true. If she had grasped that courage much sooner, her life might have become more free, unrestrained by anyone else. Then there was a bursting sound, the sound of Rosa's chair fiercely hitting Kinzo. Would not have been this. With the chair still lifted up, she neatly lost half her head and slumped over. Still holding cross with one hand, the blow had struck her other hand out towards Rosa. The golden snake released from that arm, had constricted Rosa in a helix, and smashed into her head.
防衛射撃資金弾の無礼をお詫びするであります。
構わん。これで6人であるか。
はい、ゴールドスミス卿、これで6人であります。
When she indifferently communicated that, the blow let go of Cross, whom she had been lifting up this whole time.
第一の番の生贄はエヴァにルドルフにローザ、夏日、秀吉、そして源氏であるか。
Kyrie's still alive then, huh? It was a massacre that happened in an instant. The interior of the dining hall had been dirtied by blood spatter, and the 6 unlucky victims lay with their heads brutally exposed. In a way that was fitting for that abnormal space, Kinzo's abnormal laugh alone echoed out.
いよいよに幕を開けたぞ。ベアトリーチェを蘇らせる儀式の始まりだ。運よく第一の番を逃れた者たちに我が友人たちを紹介しようではないか。いでよ、我が友よ、ロノウェイ。
Runaway 2? Kinzo called Runaway's name. The demon butler showed himself in midair, bowing respectfully.
皆様方、はじめまして。そして、ご無沙汰の皆様におかれましてはごきげんよう。これはまた派手に散らかされましたようで。
よいわ。我が白昼夢のごとき日々を覚ますにはこの程度の刺激が必要だ。紹介しよう。我が友人であり頼れる執事であり72柱の大悪魔であるロノウェだ。
以後お見知りおき。
Who was he making that introduction to? Cross and Curie were still down on their backsides, and Nanjo, Goda, and Kumasawa could only look up at this middle-aged gentleman that they didn't know in shock. Only Shannon and Kenna seemed to recognize him, and they bowed deeply.
源氏には挨拶が叶いませんでしたが、せめて苦痛なく役目を終えられたなら良いのですが。
頭部直撃弾にて即死でした。苦痛を味わう暇もありません。
そうですか、結構です。
続けて友を紹介しよう。いでよ、我が友ワルギリア。
Really, a 2, dude? Once again, a silhouette someone the relatives didn't know appeared from empty space. He appeared in a refined dress while making an elegant greeting.
召喚を感謝します、親方様。許されるならば、このような血生臭き場に呼び出されたくはありませんでしたが。
こやつも紹介しよう。我が友であり頼れる相談役でもあるワルギリアだ。
Why doesn't he just summon Beatrice? Is he stupid?
偉大なる有限の魔女であるお前の力を我が儀式に借りたい。
Witch of the Fine Night.
その力を貸せ。
お断りしようにも、あなたの強力な召喚霊族下にある身ではそれも叶いません。御意に、親方様。
それにしても恐ろしいお方だ。
Now that's old Beatrice, it's different.
シエスタの姉妹兵を3人も召喚し、私に加え召喚という能力においてのみとはいえ、お嬢様をもはるかに上回るとは恐ろしい。後ろ宮の地に戦慄を覚えます。
ベアトリーチェ復活の儀式を執り行うために、私は召喚師としての全てを尽くすだろう。まだ足りぬな。この度の儀式の完璧なる遂行のために、さらに召喚しよう。
What do you mean more?
ペンドラゴンの記念兵に、炉の上にワルギリア。まだ呼べるぞ。我が魔力ならまだまだ呼べる。我が召喚に応えよ。72柱が一人。ガープよ。
Ah?
ガープをあれまでも権限できるというのですか？
さらにこの島の侵食が進んだということでしょう。私たちが権限できているほどです。今さらどんな大悪魔が呼び出せたとしても驚くには値しますまい。
もはや六軒島は完全に異世界に飲み込まれているということですか？
Oh, parallel world. Hey.
彼が屈服しないと良いのですが。
前回たっぷり入れ知恵をなされたでしょう。
Last time.
この程度では今さら屈服しますまい。おそらくでしさて、私たちはこの舞台を楽しもうではありませんか。今回の主人公はどうやら親方様のようだ。お嬢様とは一味違った脚本に期待しましょう。
This is what's going on. When Kido strongly concentrated his magical power, a pale light gathered in empty air, twisted, and a magic circle was drawn there with a deep red glow. Yeah, excuse me? Who? Fancy dress you got there. Fancy music too. Why does he even need Beatrice? There's the gap. Oh, true. The sleeves look silly with this wide of a freaking gap thing going on. And is it only this one side? The other side doesn't look like it has that thing going on. With the sound like glass breaking, a new demon could be seen there.
よくぞ我が呼びかけに応えた。72柱の大悪魔が一つ、ガープよ。
すごいところに呼び出されたものね。この血まみれの部屋を掃除するために私は呼び出されたのかしら？
This track is called Happy Maria, by the way. Really interesting name.
ゴールドスミス。
A literally devilish woman wrapped in a venomous, ominous costume looked at the scene, which should have made her cover her eyes, and twisted her mouth in a grin.
そのためだけにあなたを呼び出すとしたら、カシミヤのマフラーで雑巾がけをするようなものですよ。
お久しぶりですね、ガープ。あなたのような大悪魔がとうとうこの島に現れてしまうなんて。いよいよこの島も幻想に沈むのでしょうか。部屋の惨状よりもこの豪華キャストの方が驚くべきね。シエスタ姉妹が3人もいて、大悪魔ロの上に大魔女ワルギリアに私まで。これは何事？ここはパンデモニウム？地獄の演奏会でも始めるつもりかしら。なるほど。そこで指揮棒が震えるのはあなたぐらいしか思いつかないわ、ゴールドスミス。
そなたにはベアトリーチェを蘇らせる我が儀式遂行のための進行役として協力してもらう。我が召喚契約に依存はないな。
依存も何も。天下の大魔女ベアトリーチェを刺激した伝説の大召喚師ゴールドスミス教の召喚霊族に私が抗えるわけもない。協力はするわよ、もちろん。 見合ったお題もいただくけどね。
Bidding price.
最初の仕事は
第一の番を免れた間抜けどもを捕らえよ。幸いにもここにはまだ7人いるではないか。南條にシャノンにカノン、ゴーダに熊沢、キリエにクラウス。ほう、この7人をまるまる生贄に捧げればちょうど13人だ。第2の番以降を実行するタイミングが訪れるまで生贄の檻に放り込んでおくがよかろう。
Age of sacrifices.
カシミヤの雑巾がけね。了解したわ。
As Cap shrugged her shoulders, she looked at Cross, who was still down on his butt. She glared. Then, when she snapped her fingers, Cross was swallowed up by the floor, as though a round pitfall had opened up beneath him.
いっちゃ上がり。
There was no hole in the floor, but it had certainly looked as though Cross had been swallowed up by a hole and disappeared. Searching for her next prey, Cap's gaze crossed Kyrie's. She snapped her fingers. Kyrie jumped back as though repelled. Her instincts had been right. After all, in the place where she had been until a second ago, a round jet black hole had appeared, the same kind that swallowed up Cross. However, before she could catch her balance, another pitfall appeared and swallowed her up. Even Kyrie had no way of eluding Cap's capture. The sprite falling down. There goes Nanjo. When she snapped her fingers again, they shocked. Nanjo was swallowed up by the floor and disappeared. When she did it again, 410 let out a short yell and jumped back. This time, a slightly louder pitfall opened, swallowing both Shannon and Cannon, who had been standing in a line by the door. Incredible animation. Best animation. But because 410 had jumped away from the door, the way was no longer blocked. Instinctively aware that he would be next, Koda dashed out through the door. Of course, Kumasawa also escaped at lightning speed, chasing after Goda. She's fast! As Cap snapped her fingers over and over, round jet black pitfalls opened one after another behind them, chasing them. However, they did nothing but drive the recklessly fleeing pair away, and couldn't swallow them up. Goda and Kumasawa escaped in a matter of seconds.
鈍ったわ。二人逃がした。ご安心を。逃走目標を補足中であります。
データリンクよし。にひ。狙撃しますか？
いいえ、それは許可できませんよ。貴重な生贄です。親方様の許可を待つように。
大ゴールドスミス卿、指示を待ちます。
Leave him.
訪れにはまだ早いと我が魔力の源泉が囁いておるわ。
Why did she just aim where they're going instead of where they are? Is she stupid?
今はならん。
True.
好きにさせてやれ。どうせこの島からは逃げられぬわ。
親方様の魔力の源泉とはすなわちノイズとリスクと運試し。つまりは気まぐれというわけですか？
Just like Beatrice, they're perfect for each other.
そうとも言うかもしれぬ。ガープ、ご苦労であった。儀式はこのまま着実に進めよ。さて、それはそれとして、次は我が孫たちだ。次期当主たる資格があるかどうかを試す。
Hold on. Oh, whole bunch of entries. Cross swallowed up. Etsui dead. Both dead. Rudolph dead. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and then Genji. I was gonna ask who are they gonna use for the second Twilight, but these two are, I guess, technically still alive, yeah? I guess it could go that way again, like either the George and Shannon or Canon and Jessica. Hmm.
はてさて、どうやってその資質を確かめたものか。
その資格があると判断されたなら、ベアとの復活を断念されるおつもりで？
無論だ。に
Oh,
もかかわら
merciful.
ず試す。ふん、女の身にはわからぬであろうな。この矛盾。
Okay, Gunzo.
など。
相変わらず男ってどこか変ね。リスクを遊ぶという概念わかりかねるわ。
おやおや。あなたは
Let's go on Kumaso. Ah, true. Maybe they have a thing going on.
もちろんよ、男に危険なリスクと一緒に恋をささやかれたら、ただしイケメンに限る。
But only if you stop.
お静かに死後は慎むように。
ふん、実にかしましい奴らだが少なくとも退屈はせぬ。これだから召喚は愉快なのだ。そなたらには我が儀式のノイズとリスクの天秤の片側を担ってもらうぞ。その働きに期待している。
6 brutally murdered corpses lay in the dining hall, and it was contaminated with red, gruesome decorations. It was now unimaginable that, until just a second ago, 13 humans had been arranged here in a well-organized manner. Angel lined up the famous demons and their subordinates, loudly declared the beginning of a night of overwhelming mass murders, and swore himself that he would certainly revive Beatrice and open the door to the Golden Land.
待たせたな。これにて第一の番、いよいよ開幕。
Alright, Ballard, what are your thoughts on everything that's happened?
金蔵め、相変わらず派手を好む男よ。付きまとわれればしつこいことこの上なき男も、舞台の上ではこれほどまでに映えるというのか。
くそ、相変わらず黒い殺し方ばかりしやがって。頭部半壊だ。てめえら魔女ども悪魔どもの悪趣味には相変わらずうんざりさせられるぜ。
頭部半壊。なるほど。これまでのゲームで一番理想的な殺し方がこれだと気づいたわけね。
理想的？このひでえ殺し方がどう理想的だってんだ。
Because you gotta ask yourself, how does a normal person do that to that many people? It makes it hard to deny that, like, magic done it, right? And leaving half the faces means you can't say it was like a fake body or something. Whoa, she's here!
一番最初のゲームを思い出してみるといい。
お前はさっき登場しやがった。新しい悪魔とかいうやつか。くそ、また魔女の侵食が進んで、ろくでもないやつが増えたというわけなのか。
The more the witch's corrosion advances, the more Rokajima tilts toward the spirit world. That's why strange insane people keep appearing one by one. This island has been closed off by the typhoon, so no human can leave it, much less appear as a new character to increase their numbers. But the more corrosion advances, the more witches and demons can appear without limit, increasing one by one. By now, there might be more demons than humans among the characters appearing in this insane tale. Their numbers might be the thing that represents this mad corrosion. Yeah, I'm sure that's true. And the corrosion hasn't just affected a number of people, but apparently their fashion sense as well. If the corrosion event is any further, even more weird people appear. Just what in the world will they be wearing? It's so scary, I can't imagine. Ah, seriously, give me a break. Don't make these weird guys increase in number anymore.
そうはいかんぞ。まだまだ増やすぞ。人間どもの語るクローズドサークルなる間抜けなルールをわらわがいくらでも怪我してやろうぞ。よく来たな。我が優雅なるゲームへ。ガープよ。
お久しぶりね、リーチェ。お元
リーチェ
気だったというか随分元気そうじゃない。あなた若返った私が知ってる頃より2、300歳は若々しいわ。
Damn, whole hundreds of years.
なるほど。
The demon grandfather had summoned and introduced. The demon grandfather had summoned and introduced as Gap. Took a glance at me, then grinned as though she figured something out on her own. That smile felt openly obscene.
ベアとの友人らしいな。ってことは輪をかけてろくでもねえやつってわけだ。しかしクローズドサークルがなんとかって言ってやがったが、どういう意味だ。
今の六軒島のような外界から断絶された場所で起こる連続殺人ミステリーはクローズドサークルとも呼ばれるわ。外界からの断絶、つまりは閉じられた輪の世界というわけ。
Oh, so
故
descriptive.
に登場人物と容疑者は限定されるのが一般的
But she just keeps adding more to it.
にもかかわらず、新しい容疑者候補が次々に輪の外から追加されていくのはミステリーの作法に反する。つまり人間とミステリーに対する魔女の冒涜ってつもりなんでしょうよ。
How dare she?
あなたがグレーテル？なるほど。賢い子みたいね。そういう子は好きよ。舌が甘くてとろけるから。気色悪い。冗談は服だけにしておいて。デビリッシュプリティの最新作、ジャック・ザ・リッパー・クリスマス・ブラッド。
Jack the Ripper.
人間界の田舎娘には理解できないセンスでごめんね。通気性がいいのだけは理解できたわ。ついでに頭にも切れ目を入れたら脳みその通気性も良くなるかもね。
ガープは魔界の流行にいつも敏感でな。しかし今年の流行りも実に大胆だ。わらわも一度ぜひ取り寄せてみるとしよう。
Don't do that.
リーチェにはアリグレがおすすめね。アリス&ザ・グレーブヤード。今度一緒に666にも洋服見に行きましょうよ。たまには魔界にもいらっしゃいな。
このゲームを終えたらぜひそうしようぜ。
Too bad she's never gonna leave.
それにしてもリーチェの対戦相手のお二人はなかなか可愛いわ。この子なら頭部半壊死体にどういう意味があるか察しがつきそうね。わかる？おじいちゃん。
さっきこいつは一番最初のゲームを思い出せと言ったらどういう意味だ。
言葉通りの意味は一番最初のゲームの第一の番を思い出して、大人たちの死体が魔法陣の描かれた園芸倉庫の中で発見された時のことよ。覚えてる？
Ember. Episode 1. The first Twilight. Frost, Rudolph, Kiori, Rosa, Shannon, and Goda. All 6 of them had their heads pulverized and died.
あの時、あそこには2種類の死体があったわ。それは顔面を粉砕された死体と側面を粉砕された死体の2種類。
そうだ。顔面粉砕はルドルフ、キリエ、ローズ、ゴーダの4人。側頭部粉砕はクラウス、シャノンの2人だ。わらわもあの時点では気まぐれに生み出した2種類の死体であったが、より残忍な死体である前者の方がわらわにとってむしろ不利であることに気づいたのだ。
ベアトにとって不利。
Must they could be explained as fakes.
そうか、そういうことか。
That's right. The smashed faces might look atrocious, but that made it hard to confirm the identity of each person. For example, at the time Okocross and Shono-chan had their heads half smashed, that alone was atrocious enough, but because half their faces remained, it was easy to confirm their identities. But Dad and the other three were different. Because his face had been completely destroyed, even I, as his son, could only guess by inference that it had to be Dad's because of his clothes and the like. In short, it remained vague until the end whether that really had been Dad's corpse.
第1のゲームの時にも、もしも推理バトルが行われてたなら、俺は多分親父たちの死体を本人確認不能のため偽装死体の可能性もあると主張していたかもしれない。何しろあのゲームの時にはベアとは一切赤での発言もし。
お上手よ。それで正解。
Getting it.
偽装死はミステリーの基本の一つ。たとえ医者に検証させたとしても、犯人とグルを疑われればその結果は信用できない。つまり確実な死を保証できない死体は常に魔女サイドを不利にするということ。
あらゆる死体について偽装死を疑い、その後の事件の犯人に想定することができる。バトラの嫌う手だけど、魔女に対する最も初歩的な一手ね。
ああ、そうだ。だからベアとは赤を使い出した。赤き真実で完璧な検証を行うようになったんだ。
そういうことだ。本来ならばこの第一の番の惨劇に対し、わらわはすぐにでも赤き真実にてこの度の6人の死亡を確定させるところである。しかし知っての通り、今回のわらわの戦闘はこれまでとは正反対に赤き真実の兵糧攻めといったところ。
The truth starvation.
そなたが反撃の拠り所にしようとする以上、わらわは容易には赤を使わぬ。必要最低限の赤にてたった一箇所だけほころびさせればいい。つまりわらわは究極的に言えば、そなたのあらゆる密室の推理についてあらゆる暴言を許せども、そのうちの一つをたった一回の赤き真実にて打ち破るだけで良いわけだ。
散々俺をいたぶってきやがったくせに、俺が反撃に使い出したら今度は引っ込めやがったってわけだ。ふざけやがってよ。
とにかく赤を使いたくない。蹴っちりたい。バトラをいじめてやりたい。
She loves bullying.
赤を使わずに確実なる死を保証するにはどうすればよいのか。わらわは悩みに悩んだわけだ。そのアイデアをガープがくれた。実に簡単な方法だったのだ。
Gave you this idea. When did you have this thought?
私は誰にでも容易に身元の判別と完全なる死が理解できる死体を用意すればいいと言っただけ。つまりはその2つを合体させたわけよ。身元の判別に必要な顔と完全なる死の象徴である魂の器たる頭部の粉砕。この2つを左右ぴったりきれいに合体させたら、あら不思議。この頭部半壊死体がパーフェクトであるという答えが出たわけだ。
お前絶対2色パンとか2色アイスが好きだろ。欲張りな子供市民丸出しだぜ。
What's wrong with two-colored ice
い
cream?
ずれにせよ、たとえ頭部が半壊していたとしても、現時点では彼らが死んだとみなすべきではないわ。
分かってる。ベアトがもったいぶって赤での宣言を拒む以上、全ては疑ってかかるべきだな。もちろんシエスタの太もも姉ちゃんたちの魔法殺人だって鵜呑みになんか絶対しねえぜ。
本当に慎重になったこと。最初のゲームの頃だったなら何でもかんでも鵜呑みにしてくれていたのにね。
How do you know? You weren't there. Probably.
公的種はこうでなくては面白くないというものよ。今は赤がないことを幸いに、自由な想像を広げ、好きに推理を重ねるがいい。一番最後、一番おいしいところでバッサリと赤き真実にて叩き切ってくれようぞ。
Holy. What a scene, dude. Oh, drops. Oh, they're probably in whatever fucking room you have to, like, put them in. Ooh. And anyway, I'm upset that I messed up this save up here. But anyway, holy. That was... that was a whole lot more than I was kind of expecting, given how the last couple streams went so far. Oh man. We didn't get, I guess because the bodies weren't discovered, we didn't get any updates here, but we did get updates on some of the new characters here. Not here though? Yeah. Sure was a grand return to Rakanjima. It sure was. Okay, that's the same description as before. Same as before. I guess we can assume that Kinzo also is able to summon the sisters and all of the goats. The weapon of the sisters' cavalry, which serves Pendragon. Double O is their calm and composed leader. However, this is merely the role demanded of her, since she is far more frail by nature. Double O excels at reconnaissance and serving as an advance guard, displaying extreme supremacy in unexpected encounters. However, her excessively powerful fighting strength has been called inhumane and isn't rare for her to be lynched and abused when she surrenders on the battlefield. Her one eye silently speaks to that. And you, one of the 72 great demons, also Beatrice's friend. Entire freaking outfit. Nice socks. Also Beatrice's friend. When a magician demands it, she grants the ability of instantaneous movement. She uses this extreme power for playing pranks mostly. Her specialty is hiding keys and bags during busy mornings. Really? However, in the context of closed room mysteries, this power becomes the ultimate weapon that can easily strike a finishing blow. Her queen bee strikes are likely to pierce any and all detectives, forcing them to surrender. Oh, she cheats! Great outfit, but those pink pumps gotta go. Yeah, the pink and red, I think, is not a good combo. I don't know, I don't think the red bow goes well with the red hat, like, either. Looks weird to me. Oh, in any case, I end stream there. For today. Getting a bit, like, warm and humid, and it feels so gross out. What now, Power Worlds? I mean, we could, but I would want like an hour break or something. I'd cool off and not feel so sticky. It's been insane. It's been raining the past couple of days. The humidity is like stupidly high right now. In fact, it rained earlier this morning. Because wait, where? There it is. Put that back on. But yeah, we could do power in like, I don't know. Maybe 30, 45 minutes. If you really want, if Lucky's around. For playing things in the future, I was also thinking maybe Terraria Sunday if possible instead of tomorrow, because I kind of want to do another I want to do another episode of another stream of Umineko and get a bit further now that things are finally like ramping up again. If Sunday isn't doable, we'll stick to doing Terraria tomorrow. All 4 and also 5 in one shot. I don't even have like the answer arcs. I couldn't even do that if I wanted. But anyway, yeah. Happy Maria instrumental. That means there's a non-instrumental version. I've been spoiled yet again. I cannot believe this. But anyway, in the fighting, he's trying to confuse me again with lies. I'm gonna hear the non-instrumental version in the future, and then I'm like, and then I get to be mad at him for real. Right. I guess like a 30-minute to an hour break, and then I guess if Lucky's around, we'll play some Power World. If not, I don't know, more Umineko. More Umineko tomorrow? If we can do Terraria Sunday, then more Umineko tomorrow. Otherwise, Terraria tomorrow, and I don't know, but I could sleep an entire day Sunday. Who knows? We'll figure it all out. In any case, anyone around to watch me, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all, I guess, in a bit. Probably. Till then, see you.